Plot, Daredevil, 2003. Heading. Actions. Add a new plot. Written by John Wiggins. In the roughest part of New York City called Hell's Kitchen, there lives a boy named Matt Murdock and his father, who is a boxer. One day, Matt ran into an industrial accident and became blind after his eyes were exposed to a toxic chemical, but it also gave him other supernatural senses. Then, his father was killed by a mysterious figure. Matt, who is now a lawyer by day, he is also Daredevil who hunts criminals by night. He then met and fell in love with Electra Natchius, a daughter of a wealthy tycoon. But what Matt does not know is that a wealthy executive going by the name Kingpin has hired another super-enhanced human named Bullseye, who always hits his target, to eliminate Daredevil and Electra. Now, the two must stop Bullseye and the Kingpin. Written by Emekazan, he dwells in a world of external night, but the blackness is filled with sounds and scents, tastes and textures that most cannot perceive. Although attorney Matt Murdock is blind, his other four senses function with superhuman sharpness. By day, Murdock represents the downtrodden. At night he is Daredevil, a masked vigilante stalking the dark streets of the city, a relentless avenger of justice. For Daredevil, justice is blind, and for the guilty, there's hell to pay. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello, and welcome to Citizen White Cane.
Hi.
Hey. This is the podcast where we don't see movies, but movies attempt to see us. And today we are talking about the movie Daredevil.
Yay! And I am sure that this might be the first movie, maybe the first movie that comes to mind when you're thinking of, give me a movie with a blind main character.
Yeah, it is kind of a very classic thing that I feel like that's, one of the first ones that someone would ask if you say, and I was like, did we do this too early on? But then I'm like, there's also a TV show about Daredevil, so I'm sure we'll get to more Daredevil stuff. I don't think we're completely,
We should, and we should totally talk about the TV show. I have not seen all of it, but I have seen the first season.
Oh, yeah, which I did not get through the first season. I watched, like, a decent amount of it. I mean, maybe not a decent amount of it, but I watched like 3 or 4 episodes because I keep thinking I only watched like 1, but that's not true. But I was just kind of got tired after a while. It's very dark.
That is true. Oh, and I know the song introduced us, but we should probably introduce ourselves.
That might help. I'm Sky McLeod.
And I'm Melissa Bukta.
We need like catchphrases. Like, the something. I don't know.
Something.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, so.
But yes, we are talking about the 2003 movie Daredevil, starring Batfleck himself, Ben Affleck. Which,
oh my God.
Now, he can join the club of actors that have been both in Marvel and DC movies.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's a small club, but there's a few. Today we're talking about the 2003 movie Daredevil, starring Batfleck himself,
yes,
Ben Affleck, also Jennifer Gardner, and a pre-Iron Man director, Jon Favreau.
Right. Yeah, it is definitely a what would be the right word? Like what's to come. It's.
Yeah. Well, this is 5 years before the MCU started. Because Iron Man came out in 2008. So, this is...
Yeah, it is really early on. I feel like they've rebooted.
Oh,
yeah, it's entirely rebooted.
Well, and it's interesting watching this movie and having watched all of the MCU so far. This, like, tonally is incredibly different from anything in the MCU. It's not funny.
It's that
it's
is really true.
absolutely humorless. Like
It is funny though because it's kind of bad and in ways it is funny.
I was laughing at things that were not meant to be laughed at, and I went into this, and of course I saw this in theaters with a group of blind friends.
Oh, you saw it with blind people.
Mm-hmm. Now we were all obviously we're all varying degrees of blindness, but
yeah.
but it was our like fun date. Like we all got together and we're like, oh hell yeah, we're all gonna go see Daredevil.
You had blind friends when you were young.
When I was in middle school, high school, I actually found out that blind people exist.
Yeah.
I'm not the only blind person in the world. But yeah, no, I had a couple of there was a handful of us. There were like 6 of us.
That's so nice. I like tried to do that in high school, but we had to like be really on the down low. I did have like a friend who was in my video classes, and we had this thing where we would do a blind high five, which would just be like we would go to high five and then we just completely missed, and it was like a joke that we had. And
fantastic.
I really loved that, and I appreciated like kind of that him going along with that kind of dumb humor, but that was I really wanted that camaraderie, and I feel like it wasn't really available. Like we weren't, I don't know why, but we weren't really allowed to like, you know, if we were a gang of people, then you would have to deal with like kind of multiplying the prejudice of other people, you know, so I feel like you just kind of had to be separate just because you didn't want to draw too much attention to your eyesight or something. I mean, that's not how I felt, but I feel like that was kind of like what it felt like, so I was kind of, yeah.
People mostly just left us alone.
That's
honestly,
nice.
because a lot of people, yes, it was very nice, because honestly, a lot of people, especially in high school, don't know how to react to a disabled person.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
You either get hate or confusion.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and I got both. So
Yeah, I think we all get both also. Yeah.
all I can say is thank God for King Career Center. Anyway, yeah. So it was a big day. It was me and my blind friends, and we were all going to go to the theaters to see this movie. And I remember really enjoying myself at the time. I don't remember actively hating it at the time. We all cheered and had a really good time, and you know, but it's definitely not a superhero movie where I came out and I'm like, yeah, man, I wish I was Daredevil. I wish I could do all that stuff.
That's so funny. I definitely had a different experience in that because I'm a little bit younger, so I was 10 when I came out. And my dad makes comics, so we like would go to like every single superhero movie. Like that was kind of like you were expected to do that. And so from a very young age, would have seen all of them. And I remember because I was diagnosed at 15, so this was 5 years before I got any sort of diagnosis, there was any recognition of me being blind, and I remember loving it so much and coming out of it, and my dad was like, yeah, it's not really very good, and I was like, what do you mean, it was so cool, he was blind, and I definitely wanted to be him, because I think coming from the experience of being undiagnosed, and that like just having any representation of a blind person and like being able to actually relate to anyone like in a movie was so fun.
Oh hell yeah. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, I think this was long before I'd ever even watched Avatar, because I hadn't watched Avatar until college. And I mean,
Right.
Obviously Toph Beifong blows any blind character out of the water. Just saying.
Yeah, I
me,
agree.
you know?
And it was definitely it predated it, and we're like on it. So we're seeing things in theaters, so that's why.
Yeah, but I do remember actively like cheering so it was just our group of people cheering when he beats up the bullies in the alleyway with his cane.
Yeah,
That is so freaking
it's so
cool.
fun. I cheered literally
so cool.
watching it alone in my room. I was like, yes. I think I literally verbalized excitement. Yeah, it is very exciting because you just kind of like, I don't know, you feel very vulnerable when you like are walking around with a cane, and like as much as it's nice to have people recognize that, it's still a very vulnerable like feeling that you get. And so
But
I think
if you knew how, you could really fuck up someone's day with a cane.
it's just so nice because you're like when you're walking alone, you're like, okay, well, I'm just projecting to everyone that I can't see them so they can fuck with me and I'm not going to be able to identify them in a lineup so they can kind of do whatever they want. Like that's what's going through my head. So the idea of like, actually, no, you have a weapon that you could use at any time is always like, just like, yes, you're right. I do have a weapon. I could use it any time.
Oh, my karate teacher used to grab my cane from me all the time and do really cool shit with it. It was just like, not fair because he wouldn't teach me when I was a white belt.
That's it. Okay, so I have heard that there are like cane self-defense classes and I want to do that so
That's
bad.
Amazing. Yes,
But
please.
it's hard because it's like you have to, I guess, to get enough people who want to take that is like hard in a geographical location. So, and I imagine it would be difficult to do that online. But
I mean, so basically, I've said all this to say that I didn't nearly hate this movie as much as I thought I was going to hate it.
Yeah.
I really went in going, geez, I have to watch freaking Daredevil. Like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. I'm like, I'm not going to say it's a competent movie, but I had a good time.
It's
I had a
really
good time.
Yeah, it is definitely it's interesting. I don't think it's very good objectively, so I get that, but I also think it is very fun. Like it was just weirdly enough, I was more like just kind of like excited and like in for the ride than any of the movies we've done so far. Like it was just there's just such a like it's so frenetic, but like also so ridiculous and so over the top and cheesy in ways that like are very funny because it is so ridiculous.
This is like it is early 2000s cheese,
and it has Evanescence.
Oh, two Evanescence songs.
I know, the second song.
I couldn't believe it. I had forgotten about those. And I was like, my God, this is so on the freaking nose. It is so hard.
It's so bad.
But how can you not like be like, yeah, like it's Jennifer Garner wearing skin tight leather pants, getting her workout on to like bring me to life. Girl power, and then she fucking dies.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler alerts for 2003 Daredevil.
Yeah, no spoilers in this movie podcast where we talk about the whole movie.
However, fun fact, she learned how to work those scythes is not the right term. Her weapons that she uses, forks, tridents, I don't know. But she learned how to do this herself.
Oh, it's like, did Affleck learn how to do the stunts himself?
Yeah, I know about that. I don't know. I didn't get that far. But but I can tell you that Jennifer Gardner learned how to do all that herself.
It is pretty awesome that, like, the fighting, like, girl... Well, because wasn't she wearing, like, more clothes? I read something that said that she was wearing more clothes because she was like, I gotta do the fucking stunts, so you can't put me in, like, a very, like, scantily clad outfit.
Oh, thank God. I hadn't read that, but even the outfit she was wearing, I was like...
They're all like that always.
Super impractical, but whatever.
I know.
And then the boys get to wear like full body suits.
Right. Because their face is covered up.
Well, I mean, Daredevil's partially is, and Bullseye not really.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, meaning that the males get to wear clothes.
Right. Well, because they have a whole
lady can't
disguise.
wear. But if a lady is a superhero,
then no, she has to be scantily clad.
Skin tight leather pants and
which Ben Affleck is like a sex symbol sometimes. I mean, now he's kind of, I think, been Me Too'd, so not so much anymore.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm pretty sure he was.
Sorry. I'm good. No, I'm good.
I'm pretty sure he was. It's just now he's been Me Too'd, so
I've
he's
never
not
heard.
anymore.
I've never heard Ben Affleck and sex symbol in the same sentence.
Really?
Yes.
I think that's a real thing.
Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it.
I mean, what do I know? I'm blind.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But okay, you know what? I'll give you this. I will give you this. Ben Affleck has a very nice voice.
Yeah. I don't think he's that bad. I mean, now that I know, like, that he's not, doesn't seem like maybe he's not a good person, that makes it, like, less, like, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would say he's a very nice voice. And
Yeah.
I pretty much believed him through all of the super cheesy voiceover narration.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, there's so much cheesiness.
It's great. I mean, the music is cheesy. Oh man, it's Colin Farrell's character. Just, oh my god, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
He just is. I would say like Colin's character was pulled like straight out of 1994 and dropped in this movie, but I don't know. It felt this movie feels so 90s and it came out in 2003.
I know. I was thinking the exact same thing. It is so extremely 90s. And like I think that at the beginning of a decade is kind of like you're still ending the last one, so I think that's part of it probably, but it is far more 90s, I think. But it does have that very early aunts feeling as well. I mean, Evanescence definitely helps set the scene for that. But just like, I feel like the politics of it are like very specifically, okay, I guess, yeah, during that time period, that's how we thought about women. And that's how we thought about healthy relationships. And that's how we thought about like, oh my gosh, like the Kingpin.
Okay, I have to say though, out of all of the Kingpins that I have seen, out of all the iterations of the Kingpin I have seen, and I've seen a few, Michael Clark Duncan is actually my favorite.
I thought it was a great performance, and I was reading something, and he was saying like, apparently there was so much backlash, which is like so stupid.
I mean, the scene, like the first scene you see him in, I don't know, he just exudes, like he is the Kingpin. He is the Kingpin, and
I think it's a great performance. But
yes, actually.
It's also, like, for me, I was like, okay, so the only blank character is the villain.
I know.
Which is what I thought the entire time. And then I looked it up, and apparently people were mad because he wasn't black in the comics. I was like, oh, right, so this is 2003, where we're so far behind.
I know. But he was so cool, though. Like, you look at Wilson
cool.
Fisk in the comics, and he's this giant, gross white man.
Yeah, no, he made it a lot cooler. Like, I kind of like... You know, you kind of wanted to know what was going on with him more. I feel like he was more of, like, you were interested in him more than, I mean, Bullseye, it's a very, yeah, I don't know why neither of us are able to really pinpoint exactly.
I
mean, it's ironic because he's
maybe
Bullseye.
Yeah, right. Maybe because he just, I don't know, he just makes me feel weird.
Well, I don't really know why. It's very unclear what his motivations are. Like, he just wants to kill people, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean, he works for the Kingpin. Kingpin hires him out of Ireland. I'm assuming he works for the Kingpin because he's the Kingpin's assassin / hitman. And then all of a sudden, he just wants to kill Daredevil because Daredevil supposedly killed Elektra's dad. However,
wait,
Bullseye killed Elektra's dad because he used Daredevil's weapon to kill Elektra's dad. So he completed that job. Like, is he just pissed off because Daredevil, quote unquote, bested him, and now he's just like, well, he's gotta go.
Right. Well, I guess is when he has that speech in the clock tower, isn't he like, well, you know, this one's for me? Like, to kill Daredevil is for him?
This one's just for me.
Which, why? Like, and then, I guess, it's very unclear why he cares that much and why, because he's, like, very focused on killing people in a way that he's not like a hitman in a way that he's like, this is a job. It's like, no, there seems to be some intrinsic value to killing people for him.
Well, this was before... I think this was before
Barry.
This was before we were exploring, like actually exploring the villains.
Well, yeah, I think like having Barry
movie.
Existing after this. Well, I mean, but it does try to start that. Like, I feel like it's like we're gonna explore the ethics of. I think watching Barry and Watchmen that are 2019 shows. There's definitely I'm coming with a far more like we've just in the culture gone way ahead of this movie, like because it's like very edgy to be like, is killing just is killing as revenge for killing really okay?
Right. Well, and yes,
And that's the whole quandary.
You know, and unfortunately for this movie, it is black and white. You know, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. The good guys get the bad guys, and there isn't a lot of room for gray area. But yes, I do think you're right. I think the people who are living in the gray in this movie are father. I can't remember his name, but the father that Matt goes to see.
Well, he's,
often.
I don't even think living in the gray. I feel like he's kind of the moral center of the movie.
True. Yeah.
Which I guess because I feel like Matt is the one living in the kind of the heart of the gray area in a way. Because he's like really... I don't know. Yeah, do you think that's wrong?
I mean, well, I don't know if he's so much living in the gray area in the beginning. He straight up kills that guy. Technically the subway train killed him, but he could have saved him.
Right.
He straight up kills a guy.
Yeah, he get it very early on, which like it is interesting, and I wonder like in the mindset of 03, this probably wasn't, but like because I think there was a lot of more cavalierness to violence. But it was really just like, I think, shocking now, because you don't like start a movie with someone that you're asking to empathize with killing someone that is a rapist, which also like the fact that he was going to like court for being a rapist, like that doesn't really happen. No.
I mean, you feel no, like at least I didn't feel.
No, you don't feel any
sympathy for the guy that he kills.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly. He's a bad guy. He's a rapist. You know, honestly, the planet's probably better off without him. However, is that your decision to make? Right.
And like such a violent, as opposed to like putting him in a situation where, I mean, this is a problem generally with like really the best way to deal with rapists is to not have any rape culture, because that's once someone's raped someone, you've already lost that battle, you know, in a way, and our legal system never deals with them in any sort of realistic way. Like, you basically can, in this country, it doesn't matter if you rape someone, it's very unlikely you'll see any consequences, which fucking sucks. But, which is why I was like, wow, I got it all the way to the court case, like, you know, whatever. But, but yeah, I mean, I don't have any sympathy for this guy, so it's not like, yeah, it is definitely... You're not thinking, oh my gosh, he killed an innocent person, but it is like a very gruesome way to kill someone. So I'm like, oh gosh, this guy's a rapist, but now like you're having to live with the fact that you like genuinely killed someone, and that's like, I don't want either to be, you know, like I don't want to have to experience either of those things, either being a rapist or killing someone. Both seem like bad you know, and it's like two wrongs don't make a right. I don't know. But yeah, it's not very non-violent communication.
But I guess that's my argument for at least for Daredevil, for Matt Murdock, Daredevil's real name, Matt Murdock, lawyer by day, crime fighter by night. I guess that's my argument as far as he's black and white. Like, you know, he thinks what he's doing and how he's doing it is justified. Right. And obviously he learns something. He learns because he doesn't kill the Kingpin. At the end.
Right.
When he could have very well have killed him.
Which is funny, because in the end he says, well, you'll have to like deal with this in prison, which it's like, well, so now you trust the courts, which kind of true though, because like a white rapist going to jail, not likely. A black guy going to jail, very likely, you know, so maybe he just knows the criminal justice system from being a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, however, you have to look at it through the lens of it's a comic book movie,
right?
And he's the Kingpin, and he will go on trial and get out of it, obviously, or he'll go to jail and get out of it.
Right. Well, and that's the big thing at the end. We're kind of jumping around, but he's like you can tell people that it's me who killed you, but they won't believe that a blind guy did this to you. So, or not killed you. I mean, who beat you up. So that's kind of like the thing. But it is implied that he's going to go to jail that it's just like a done deal, which he's a lawyer, so he should know that that's not how it works. But he probably could go to like jail for a while waiting.
It was cool to say.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh my God. Yeah, no, we are totally jumping around. So for those of you who haven't seen it, or maybe, I don't know, have I'm sure a lot of people have seen this movie. But Daredevil tells the story of Matt Murdock, who is a blind lawyer. Well, starts out as a sighted kid who
Right, because he goes blind.
Right. Finds out that his dad is a hitman working for essentially the Kingpin, and out of fear and anger, runs away. Almost gets hit by a truck filled with that just happens to be transporting toxic waste.
Of course. Well, that's just happening all over the place.
Yes. And the truck misses him, but in doing so crashes into a thing of toxic waste, and he gets sprayed like right in the eyes with toxic waste. He wakes up in the hospital and finds that he has what the movie calls radar sense.
Which is really funny. Why is that connected to his eyes?
Yeah, I don't know. Isn't it?
Because it's all his other senses.
Yeah,
it has to go into his brain,
into your brain,
which I think they like explain, but it's also like a little bit like if it had to go into your brain through your eyes, but when it hits your brain, you get superpowers, but as it goes through your eyes, you lose your sight. Doesn't make any sense. Why is that inconsistent within the? It doesn't, but it's okay because nothing in Marvel makes any scientific sense.
Well, actually, I'm not going to try and make scientific sense out of this. That's not what I'm doing. But actually, so Daredevil was created in the 60s by Stan Lee, with influences by Jack Kirby. Anyway,
Jack Kirby.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so I bring this up because in the 60s, when Marvel was coming out with all these characters, because I can't say like Daredevil was born right around the same time, but you had Daredevil, you had Spider-Man, and you had the X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Right.
The thing that these superheroes have in common, not so much the X-Men, but still, the thing that these superheroes have in common is they were created during an age where we were worried about radioactivity.
Right. No, I thought about that a lot when you have like the toxic waste because you're like, this is not a thing we think about anymore.
Right. So if you think about like Spider-Man gets bit by a radioactive spider, Fantastic Four were bathed in cosmic radiation, Daredevil is hit by toxic waste.
Right. That's the explanation of all of them except for like X-Men are genetic.
They're genetic, yeah.
Yeah.
But they were created around the same time.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So yeah, so this is he kind of comes from that time.
Yeah.
And that source of creation.
Right. Well, and it is interesting to think how much that marks it in time because it is just not that is so not a thing that we're really focused on anymore. Like I think, now nuclear power is just so it's kind of been.
And if you're comparing this sort of these origins to like say DC's origins, you have DC superheroes which basically except for Batman because he's a billionaire who he doesn't have superpowers, but anyway, that's a whole other story. DC's heroes are essentially gods learning how to be human.
Thor is Marvel.
Though Thor is Marvel. Yes, you are correct.
Truly a god.
Yes. Most of Marvel's heroes are humans that have been gifted with godlike powers and are learning how to deal with that.
There is like kind of, human first and then kind of like...
Yes. Whereas as DC's heroes are all trying to relate to humanity, what does it mean to be human? Yeah, Marvel's are just trying to like... Go to work and figure out, how to deal with alcoholism and paying rent and human problems. I have no idea where I was going with this tangent, but there it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is I think just like kind of giving context to Daredevil and how it's, kind of part of the Marvel canon. But I think there is also like an era. I mean, I guess, I don't know, what are... new Marvel characters that were not introduced until very recently. I don't know how many of those are. I also am not don't at me because I might have a dad who makes comics, but I don't want to talk to like boys on the internet about comics because it's exhausting.
Whoa, hang on.
This is a real thing. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Please note, I hear you. Please note that girls and boys both read comics equally.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But the boys are the ones who get annoyed when
They're
you
the
say
loudest.
anything about comics. So
yeah.
So I feel like I don't like haven't. I mean, maybe
Right.
I should like own it, my lack of expertise, but I can't see, so just it's more than I get
Yeah.
tired than anything else, and I like pick my battles. And because I have to deal with film boys being a filmmaker, and then I just have to deal with that. So I'm like, okay, well, I learned the film stuff, so I'm not gonna bother with having to learn a whole other category that I have to prove myself and all these different conversations. But yeah, I do think that like the Marvel superheroes, because of during that era, the nuclear waste thing, it's funny to me because it is so like something that really mattered in the 60s to 80s maybe, but like now the commonness of nuclear power and that being like a real concern that people are having on a daily basis is just like not really a thing. I mean, like maybe we're afraid of like nuclear war still sometimes, but even that's less than it would have been during that era. And it's funny to me because it feels very dated, and it's like nuclear waste is not something that's really top of mind.
Well, and as a blind person, I don't want to say Daredevil just never resonated with me, because to be perfectly honest, I haven't read a single Daredevil comic. This movie was literally how I was introduced to
Me
the character.
too. Yeah.
And I still haven't read a single Daredevil comic.
That's
and
true.
I can't tell if it's because it's out of protest, or there are just more characters that I would rather read about. Also, full disclosure, I swing more DC than I do Marvel. Yeah.
Oh no, you gotta also say don't at me.
I know, please don't at me. I'm not saying DC's better than Marvel, or Marvel's better than DC. I think they all have their strengths,
you gotta have
strengths
one.
and weaknesses. I know,
No,
right?
I always
You have
liked.
to pick one.
Well, I like DC. Kind of going off what you were saying. I mean, now with all the movies, again, but like the DC ones, I feel like because of the thing you're saying about them kind of being given something from birth, it feels in a way like it is more of like being born with it kind of goes more easily into being born with a disability, or even like being queer. Like there is like a sense of like figuring out something about yourself, and that being something that is like part of who you are and isn't something that happens to you by accident, because you can be disabled by an accident, but I don't have that experience. So I feel like that is like, I did always relate to characters that kind of had something that felt like it was from birth, though. I mean, it's weird. The origin stories, I feel like there's always like this thing about origin stories that make it so that you have to like give people something, as opposed to like, well, that's, and also the X-Men always bother me that they weren't more like disability, because they're born with a disability, but it was never a disabled metaphor.
No,
and it just
was,
makes me mad.
Yeah, well, it's LGBTQ metaphor,
Right, but it's not. But we don't even know if that is a genetic component. Like, they literally have genetic disorders. I mean, like, it probably does have a genetic component, but it is not, that's not the main thing about it. Like, and I feel like the main thing about X-Men is they have genetic disorders. Like, I have a genetic disorder. I also am queer, but when I hear genetic disorder, I'm not thinking about the queerness. I'm thinking about my disability. So it is just so weird to me that they're not disabled, because they literally talk about it. They're like, it's genetics that we have this disability, this thing that changes our abilities.
But in the X-Men comics, being a mutant is, I don't think, and again, don't quote me on this. I've not read a lot of X-Men comics, but I don't know if being a mutant is ever referred to as a disability. It's always my abilities.
Right, it's your abilities that you were born
with
that are different from everyone's else. What else does that sound like?
Because able people really, really love a good old-fashioned story about a disabled person who triumphs and overcomes their disability and is greater than their disability. But one of the things I actually really like about this movie is that's not the story that they're trying to tell.
Well, because, that is really why I was surprised at how, for my enjoyment of it, held up in a lot of ways, because it doesn't hit those really cringy, blind people.
He never has the moment. He's like, why am I blind? Why can't I see?
Right.
Even though a number of sighted characters, Foggy and Elektra, are always like, man, I wish you could see. I wish you could see. I wish you could see.
this is something now that we've really started doing this and watching all these movies that I mostly avoided. Why do every character in a movie with a blind character care so much about, like, singing is so big part of the movie when it's like, you have a blind character, you get to actually explore all the other sensory input and all the fun things you could be exploring, and yet every character's obsessed with sight, and you're like, it's very annoying because it's like, okay, so this is definitely not written for blind people because all the characters are so obsessed with what the character's not seeing, even if the blind character himself or herself, but in this case himself, or their self, is like okay with not being able to see everyone around him. It's like, oh, okay, well, this would be amazing if you could see this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, I'm like, oh, yeah, obviously a bunch of sighted people wrote, or, well, a sighted person wrote this. So when he wakes up in the hospital, and we get the first glimpse of radar sense. Well, obviously, like, my blind senses are tingling.
Yeah.
That's the one point in the movie, usually the only point in the movie where I want to stand up and scream, like, blindness doesn't work like this.
Right.
It does not work like this.
Yeah, there's some things, though I actually was not as bothered by that, because I think that it is a problem with when you're making a movie that is visual. Like, you have to find ways to get creative to represent vision when the character doesn't. And I did like
visually
that
it was cool.
Yeah.
That was really neat. And I actually really appreciated the rain scene when he's on the rooftop with Jennifer Garner. I'm like, oh my God. I used to think this was so cheesy, and it's not. That's like,
well, 'cause it feels
completely 100%
real,
accurate.
It feels so real. I know, and I think that, like, it's like, I think it's I wish it was more of a cliche, because it is. The sound of rain is so wonderful, and, like, just, I think that's actually what I was a kid, because, like, living in Southern California, being someone who loves the rain for a billion different reasons, including eyesight-related reasons, just seeing a character that was excited for it to be raining because of the sound was like, oh my God, I feel like a real person right now. Yeah, exactly. I feel seen.
Well, and the way he explains it. Well, what I always loved is the way he talks about, like, the temperature drop and the moisture in the air. He's like, the temperature just dropped 3 degrees.
I kind of know when it's going to rain. I can tell that.
You can smell it.
Yeah, you can definitely smell it.
You can smell it, and you can feel it. Like, there is definitely, I mean, I can't, step outside and go, yeah, it's going to rain in 2 days and 3 hours. No, no one can do that. But
right.
But like,
when it's
you've had that feeling. Yeah, or just after.
Yeah.
You can walk outside and I don't have to know that the ground's wet and the grass is wet to know that it just rained.
Right. There's so much, like, the air. I mean, and even not just rain also. Like, I can tell if there's, like, fires, kind of burning from growing up in Southern California. I know the fires really well. Even, like, thunderstorms smell different than just, like, normal rain. There's, like, all these, because you're also, it's not just smell, you're also getting temperature, you're getting, like, the feeling of the moisture or kind of the quality of the air, which and I don't know exactly which senses that triggers, but
I love how he talked about each raindrop when it falls makes a picture.
Yeah.
When all the rain is falling, you get a sound picture.
Which is, like, a thing that people can do.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you're not going to get the full body image of, like, Jennifer Garner in the rain. Like, that's
which
not
it
gonna
did
happen,
fall into the trap of, like, a blind person really caring about the visually how visually beautiful someone is, which, again, blind people don't care.
No, it's very much about, like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're so, like, I'm like, hang on, Matt, there are other ways you can appreciate this very, like, beautiful woman.
You of all people should know this.
Yeah. Well, and they even, oh my God, that ridiculous. So they go to a ball the next night because, of course, they fall in love and da da da, and they go to a ball and he finds her by smell.
Right, he is really into the smelling thing.
Like, no, that's so creepy.
I mean, I guess if someone always wore this same smell, which I'm always like, we gotta go scent free, you guys. I mean, as nice as it is to like for blind people to use smells, we are supposed to go scent free for people with really bad allergies, and that's fair. But like I definitely can sometimes. I mean, I also, my nose is always clogged because I do kind of have allergies, so I can't really smell people. But it is a weird. I don't know though. I think it is. It seems very ridiculous, but I also wonder if you could potentially do that if you got good at it.
I mean, maybe.
But our smells are really bad. Like, humans have really bad sense of smell.
I mean, but he smelled it from across the damn room.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Because there's some things where she's, like, a little bit closer, I think.
I mean, they're walking in the park, and he makes a comment about her smell and about rose water. I'm like, okay, fine.
Right,
You're standing next to it. Fine. Yes. You know, but I'm just like, and that's not. And then he comes up and he like, smells her neck. And I'm like,
that's so creepy.
Stop! Don't ever do that. Don't. My God, if I don't care if I'm in a relationship with you. If you came up to me and just started smelling my neck, we're done.
Well, because it's like, I feel like there is a level of blind people quirkiness that non-blind people think you can get away with, that we're like, no, you can't do this. You're still, like, just because you're blind doesn't mean you can't do these really socially inappropriate things. And, like, I think also people underestimate how isolating being blind can be. And so, like, to then add to that, doing things you don't need to do for any reason that would be extremely off-putting to people, like, why the fuck would you do that? Then you're just gonna be more isolated. And there's for what gain exactly?
Okay, this has almost nothing to do with blindness, but this is just something that really grinds my gears about this whole movie. Okay, so Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson run a very small lawyering agency, law firm. Oh my God, lawyering agency.
I like that.
That's good. They run a very small lawyering agency, and they it's stated that they do a lot of pro bono cases, and people pay them in like fish and sports equipment, which is great. And he goes to court, and the scene where he's trying to get the rapist put into jail in the beginning, the courtroom even looks like super dingy. Like, the lighting is awful, and it's just, you can tell like it's this courtroom in the basement.
Right.
You know, this is like low stuff. And yet he has an exquisite apartment for the most part.
Oh my God, I know. And he's in New York.
He's in New York. He lives in Hell's Kitchen, and he sleeps in a friggin' isolation sensory deprivation tank.
It's so funny to me.
Oh, did you notice it's monogrammed?
No.
There's a DD on the top of the tank.
Yeah, because he did that with the fire later on in the movie too. Oh my God, I was like, those stress me out because I'm like, I need to be stimulated. I don't have one of my senses.
I could never do that.
Yeah.
But here's my whole thing. Where is he getting the money?
Yeah, no, it makes no sense.
His father is a poor, drunk deboxer.
Yeah,
he has no money.
He has no income coming in because he does have a job, but he's not getting paid money.
Right. So
it's true because you find out that he's not getting paid really after you see his apartment. But it is true that the first time you see his apartment, I was like, what? Where does he have all this money? Where's this money?
Well, and when he goes to work, he pulls out these like plexiglass folders, or not plastic folders, full of stacks of cash, and he just folds up some money. Yeah. Which, although when the first time I saw this, the folding money scene made me so happy. I'm just like, oh my God, people do it. And he does it the right way. It makes me so happy. But again, what? I think it's honestly, it's got to be superhero shorthand at this point. Like,
to just have a lair.
Have a lair, exactly.
Maybe it's an abandoned building, because that is the one thing, is it doesn't look like a nice apartment. It does look kind of like underground. So it could be that he's like squatting.
Maybe.
I mean, bringing a sensory deprivation chamber is a lot to be squatting. Seems excessive.
Don't know.
Yeah, it is. Just like, has he not heard of an eye mask? Because I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, okay,
Like, for light, I guess,
But,
but,
you gotta consider
earplugs.
Yeah, but you gotta consider like his senses are superhuman.
I
So
know,
like
I
maybe
guess.
earplugs just don't work.
Do enough.
You know?
But I don't know. I feel like you do get used to, I mean, just white noise. Because here's the problem that I have with his senses, and this is to go kind of also to the climax of the movie. It is inconsistent.
Thank you. I was gonna bring that up too when watching it through this time.
Because it felt like a Deus Ex Machina when we had at the very end, the thing is like, he doesn't like loud noises, and that's why he was like, the kind of, what I disabled him. But like what made it so that he couldn't fight was that Bullseye is making loud noises in the church with the church bells, and that's supposed to be like a big reveal of that's his weakness. But then when that happens, the only thing you can think is like, wait a second, but that feels inconsistent with this whole movie because he has super senses, and I noticed that he's able to parse like very loud noises.
Yes, well, it literally contradicts itself in the subway scene when he kills the rapist, because he's fighting him. The train goes by.
Right.
He freaks out, fights him again. The rapist guy falls to the rails, which also he would have been electrocuted before the subway train would have hit him because the third rail exists anyway. Falls to the ground. And the train is literally coming. It's loud, and it's getting louder and louder. Daredevil's just like, yeah, that's not the light. That's the C train.
Right,
and I'm like, how are you even still here, dude? How are you not cowering in the corner with your ears covered? I mean, my God, loud noises still freak me out.
Well, because that's the thing is like anytime a loud noise doesn't freak him out, I remember it because I'm like, wait a second, what the fuck? Like that's not a blind person thing. Why would you be okay with it being super loud right now? So like I noticed that every time that was an inconsistency, like because it's like, yeah, obviously a blind person doesn't want to hear loud noises. That's like obvious. And then at the end it's like, but blind people don't like to hear loud noises, and you're like, wait a second, you think this? You obviously don't, because he's obviously been okay with them in other scenes. Yeah, that really bothered me.
The short answer to this question is it's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still.
You could have done a better job. Like, you can't have it both ways. If you're gonna like build it up to the end, that he also like, it seemed like it was supposed to be a reveal, and I was like, wait a second, but then, and I didn't even catch at the beginning that the train sounds bothered him.
Oh, yeah. No, train goes by, he full on covers his ears, because that's how the other guy thinks that he's got an advantage over him until the train is gone.
Which makes sense. So maybe I literally only realize when he isn't, like when the sounds are not bothering him, because that's what's unbelievable, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense for sounds to be okay, though, because it is logically consistent even with this character that, like, just like a blind person, if a loud noise happens, it's really disorienting.
Also, wouldn't an easy way to beat Daredevil just be, like, to get up in his face, scream really loud, and clap your hands?
Right. Anytime. And then also, like, how does he hear people's heartbeats when there's, like... Oh, that was the thing that bothered me the most, is when he's in the club to... kill I think why is he in that club? I think like because there's
is this the club before the subway
where is it before the subway? Yes, it is. Yes, because he brings him to the subway, right?
Well, yeah. he runs away and runs to the subway to try and get away, and then Daredevil tracks him down.
Right.
Anyway,
no, but that's because in that scene it is a club, which is really loud, and it's like super loud. There's all these people talking, and so you're like, well, this is not great for Daredevil because it's all this noise. And then you zoom up to him, and you are in his perspective, so all of a sudden, instead of it being super loud, he just zones in on the one conversation he needs to be listening to.
Well, and maybe that's just a demonstration of his abilities.
Right,
like, maybe
but then if that's his ability, that's something blind people can't do, because blind people can't have all this noise, because we can't parse the different noises in a crowd. Like, that's the whole thing. So why, if he could parse different noises in a crowd, would he then, like, a certain amount of loudness you can't parse? Like, in a crowd? Like, is it just, like, because for me, if I think, like, I don't like loud noises because all of a sudden I can't I'm very disoriented. I can't hear anything but just like the loudness. Like it just, you get overpowered. And I feel like that's would be definitely true in that club where there's all these people talking. You wouldn't be able to really hone in on anything. Like, because you got to pick one or the other. You got to pick either you can completely selectively hear things, or having a loud noise is going to be disorienting. But why is it that a crowd is not loud, but the bells are? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I could say maybe it's like like maybe it's the close proximity of the sound of the bell, and the fact that the bell is just a really like freaking loud sound.
Right. Which, I mean, loud noises are very disorienting when they're like sudden loud noises, so that's fair. But it's also like, I feel like the fact that he has the power to take a very loud mix of sound and hone in and really truly hear something very clearly, just one part of that sound, if he can do that, then it's I've broken my suspension of disbelief that then he also is bothered by loud, because that bothered me so much, because like no one can do that. That's not realistic. Like, blind people are especially bad at doing that, because you can't really see you're not getting any of the visual cues when you're talking to someone, so like trying to pick out what they're saying in a crowd is really hard, especially also because you're like hearing everyone and you're focusing in on all these different snippets that you're listening to. So I like struggle a lot to hear people, and so that was very unbelievable to me.
It's also, yes, well, it's also audio visual storytelling. Like, we need to know that the guy he's looking for is in the bar. You know, so yeah, I don't know. That's, yeah. But no, that's annoying. It's super inconsistent.
It's really, yeah. Because I mean, you could do a fun thing if you're gonna work hard and like make him have specific things that he was good at doing and bad at doing, because that's when you make a fun disability story, is when you kind of, because that is what's fun about talking about disabilities, is like there are things that are harder and there are things that are easier, and that's true when you don't have superpowers. And so but they're consistent, like there's a consistency of it, and there's also logic behind it, obviously, because it's real world. I mean,
but you can, yeah, well, of course, but you can tell, obviously, like, Stan Lee's not blind, Jack Kirby's not blind.
Right.
You know, I don't know if they consulted a blind person as they created this character. I'm guessing they didn't.
Probably not.
Yeah. But I don't know. You know, don't quote me on that. But
probably not.
Matt Murdock as a character is a blind person written by sighted people because he's perfect. In the fact that we never see him run into a wall. We never see him, and I'm talking about Matt Murdock as Matt Murdock. I'm not talking about Daredevil. That's different.
But even as Matt Murdock, he does some stuff where I'm like, people are gonna like, as someone who's been like, are you really blind? Like, that's so like fucked up that you want to avoid that at all costs.
I get that all the fucking time.
Yeah, I get that too.
Are you sure you're blind?
And it's
are you really blind?
So upsetting. And I don't know if he just isn't upset by that, but I don't know if there's any blind people who are not upset when people are like, oh, are you really blind? Like, that's fucking so upsetting.
He's the chillest blind person. But, like, just thinks, okay, when he and Foggy are in the cafeteria.
Right.
Or the diner, sorry.
Yeah,
the diner, and Foggy plays a joke on him and puts mustard in his tea.
Or switches the honey and the mustard.
Switches the honey and the mustard, yeah. And so Matt put mustard in his tea. Or coffee or whatever. I'm like, okay, I will buy, maybe the mustard makes your tea smell or something. Or maybe he just assumed that Foggy was going to do this because maybe this is shit that Foggy pulls all of the time. You know, so... Or maybe the mustard bottle, when you squeeze a mustard bottle and you squeeze a honey bottle, it sounds different. I'll buy that. Right. Or whatever. But, I mean, I don't know. It just bugged me. I'm like, how can you just tell my smell?
That's so funny, because it bothered me in the exact opposite direction. Because when he did that, I was like, how could he fucking fall for that? Because you can smell the difference.
Okay. Well, also, if you put a honey bottle and a mustard bottle in front of someone and told them to touch them, a honey bottle and a mustard bottle feel completely different.
Right, they feel different.
They're shaped different.
And he has super senses, so he can so he could smell better. So that, like, is such a different smell. And I feel like I also can smell mustard from far away. So I think I would even maybe be able to tell. So
Okay,
I was like, there's no fucking way. But it is very funny that we got upset about the exact opposite thing.
Okay, then I will concede that he could probably tell that he was not putting honey in his tea, that he was putting mustard in his tea. So, I keep saying, how does he know that, like, this happened and this happened? I'm like, right, he's got superhuman sight. He can hear the sounds of the people talking, and that creates sound waves, which bounce off the walls, which means when Jennifer Garner walks in, he can see Foggy turn around and switch the teacups on him.
Right. So, wait, so, like, he can see that, just that the bottles have been switched, or, like...
No, he can see... I think he can see Foggy turn around when Jennifer Garner walks in, and they're like,
right.
yeah, oh, man, I wish you had eyes. Because he turns around to look, and that's when Matt switches the teacups.
Though I wonder, because does he say... Because I feel like he prompts him to look. And so I think...
Oh, yes, he
that's
does.
how I
He
interpret
does.
it, was
He
that
does.
he did that so that he knew he would look away.
Yep, you're right. Okay, I just did a whole circle of reasoning for absolutely
No,
nothing.
I mean, you have to, like, it is... I mean, and at least then they're, like, trying to, like, kind of think through things. I mean, honestly, this movie did sometimes try, especially because superpowers, so you're kind of making up whatever you want it to be. Like, I think it did more... I was surprised at how much it did try to think, like, what is a blind person's actual experience? Like, more than most things, because I think there is... Like, and it also was, yeah, like, there, even though there was a lot of, like, oh my god, seeing things, like, at least there is, I think, probably more of the, like, actually thinking about it stuff, where you're actually thinking, what are our other senses? Though they did say 4 in the movie, which is completely wrong. There's 23 of them, so just putting that out there. He just has, like, I guess 23 is the higher number, and so that 2 of them are sight related, so he has 21 out of his 23 senses, so not that big a deal. But and they're all heightened, all the 21, so it seems not like, yeah. But that's just a pet peeve of mine when people say 4 senses.
I mean, yeah, but it's still pretty cool. Like, going back to my blind teenager self watching this movie, especially right after he beats up his bullies. There's that whole montage of him, like, learning to, train his body. The city became my playground. I mean,
he does the parkour that he does. It's terrifying.
I know. Daredevil was doing parkour before parkour was hardcore.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, seeing that as a blind person, I mean, it's pretty uplifting. That's really cool.
Yeah. Other than being terrified of the parkour.
But it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is like, it's fun because it is like a superhero. And I think that like, I think that's part of why it is fun, in that there is a celebration of extra senses, which I mean, I think that's more, it is just more realistic to, like, what you're thinking about as a blind person. I mean, I think that movies tend to dwell on just, like, blindness more than the reality of things. Like, they're definitely, especially as an adult now, there are days that go by where I'm just not really thinking about it all that much. Like, it just isn't really in my mind because it's not affecting me. And it's also, like, I have a lot of friends where it's not something we talk about every time I see them, like, it just comes up as it comes up. But, like, I think movies, like, if they have a blind character, they're gonna fucking milk that for every possible thing they can, and it's just so focused on the blindness and, like, how that affects their life, and it's just such laser focus on that to, like, and sometimes the focus is, more productive than other times, but I sometimes am just to, like, that we, like, are just also, like, live lives, like,
we
right?
Have,
like, we just do stuff.
We have the
that's
same
normal.
problems that everybody else has. Right.
But it's just, like, and also the people around them, too. I'm always like, wow, people in movies really, like, very focused on their blind friends being blind. Like, it's...
But you know what? I don't think Foggy was. Like, Foggy would get, Foggy
So he would,
gave
like,
him
fuck
shit
with him,
and
yeah.
stuff, But that's what friends do. I mean, but it's little things like the scene where they're walking down the hall in the courthouse and Foggy's sight guiding him, and they're doing it correctly.
That's good.
That
yeah.
was really cool. It's
'Cause
like, oh my God, they're doing it right.
The mustard thing did piss me off, because I'm like, that's not, like, that feels like punching down. Like, that, like, making fun of it, fucking with a friend who's blind, like, when you do it, I don't know if you agree with this, but, like, I enjoy, like, having friends where we can fuck with each other. But, like, if people do it specifically related to my blindness, that feels hostile to me. Like, because I am... It feels like you're just kind of... It just feels like punching down, basically. Like, I don't know if you agree with that.
No, that's...
I know, I'm so worried about this sound.
That's fine. I hope... we're just gonna pray.
Fucking construction.
Fucking construction. Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you in the sense that, so I'm trying to think of, like, comparing how I interact with my friends. Usually anything verbal, I will let fly. If you are my friend.
Verbal. Well,
if
because
you
then
are my
at least
friend.
it's not, like, picking on your blindness, because you can
Yeah.
it's on your turf. I guess it's like when it's not on your turf, when they're fucking with you in a way that it's like, I'm just doing something you can't see that's now gonna, like, hurt you in some way.
Well, okay, so there's a really good example. When so in college, when I lived in a giant house with a bunch of dudes, they had a bunch of friends. One of them had a bunch of friends over for, like, a party, a video game party or whatever, and I got real drunk and decided to play Twilight Princess, and was actually pretty good. I was even better at it than when I was sober. Not the point of the story. Before I was drunk, because the drunker I got, the better I was doing terribly on this dungeon. I mean, it's hard. Video games are hard, y'all.
yeah, it's very hard.
Very hard for someone who isn't fully sighted. So his friends literally started giving me shit about how terrible I was.
Right.
Because, it's the video game community. That's what you do.
Right.
Which, again, that's a whole nother topic of, like, acceptability. But anyway.
Yeah.
Finally, one of the people who lived there took his friend aside and was like, look, you don't have the right to say that. To say stuff like that about her. You haven't earned that right.
How did you feel? Do you feel like that's correct?
Yeah, I told the other guy to shut up.
Oh, well then,
I'm like, you are not helping, dude. Like, yeah, I'm shit at this video game because I literally cannot see what is going on.
Yeah. No, I've been in that position too, and it sucks. Yeah.
And I'm like, if you don't want to, if what I am doing annoys you so much, you can go in the garage and play with people. You can go away.
Right.
Just go away.
Well, because that's, like, hostile. It's not, like, fun making fun of you.
Right.
It's just, like, you're getting angry at me
Right.
for something that's completely out of my control.
Well,
That's
and-
not funny.
Yeah, and what I tell my friends is, I will tell you if you cross a line.
Right.
I will tell you if you
Right.
go too far. Because there are some days
do
where I'm
that
just
too.
like, there are some days where I'm just like, I'm not into this right now. Like, I had a rough day. This isn't cool. Blah, 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 blah. Physical stuff, though, that's probably where I would draw the line.
Yeah.
If it's, something, it depends. If it's something funny or whatever, okay, but it's like physically.
But if you're doing something physically that's, like, harmful, it's hostile.
Right,
It's just hostile.
rearranging a room or putting a chair in my way that I'm not going to see.
Yeah, that's, like, genuinely hostile.
That's not good. Yeah,
Because it's just, like, there's not a good intent. And I realize that I really need in my friendships and, like, romantic interests for someone who is both comfortable being made fun of and also, like, willing to fuck with me. But it has to be playful. And there is, even though it's something that I really value in friendships, there is a line that you cross when it's no longer fun and it feels like because you get scared. Because you're like, if you're going to do this to me, then what else are you going to do that, like, could put me in danger? Like, because friends are supposed to be there to make you feel safer, not make you feel more afraid. And I feel like that there's a big difference between, that kind of stuff and being, like, joking around, but in a sense of, like, still knowing that the intentions. And I think also what you were saying before that your friend said about, like, you don't know her well enough to do that. I think that's another thing is it's, like, when you have closer friends that have, like, advocated for you in the past, or like are very open to like trying to do whatever they can to help you access whatever's going on, that then when they fuck with you, it's much less offensive because you know it's coming from a silly place and a place that's kind of making fun of ableism as opposed to making fun of you.
Right, it's love.
Right.
You know, that's just how, that's just how my friends and I showed love and affection for each other is, we dunk on each other.
Right. And that can be a lot of, I value that a lot in my relationship. Like, I realize when I'm dating even, I'm like, I can't handle a guy who I can't fuck with, or they're not, like, going to fuck with me. Like, because there is, like, a playfulness that's, like, that is very important to me. And I've even lost friends because we were on a different page on how playfully fucking with each other we were allowed to do. And because that is my personality. I will fuck with people, but it is always meant to, like, it's never meant to make them feel unsafe. And I have had times where people will tell me that way after the fact. I'm like, are you kidding me? You could have told me that earlier and then I wouldn't have done this. Like the point is not to, like, make you feel unsafe. And again, I would tell my friends if I felt unsafe. And so, like, and I think that that's also when you see kind of if this is safe friends, is if you say, I can't do that today. If they back off, like, that means that they're gonna be safe people to be around.
Well, if they back off and then ask you what's wrong.
Right.
Like, that's it. That's a friend.
That's
a friend.
true. You do have to also ask what's going on.
But except for the thing in the tea, we never, like, Foggy's a great friend.
Yeah, he's definitely
in the series too. He's a good friend.
Yeah, his character is sort of underdeveloped, especially he doesn't get a lot of screen time in this movie,
which is really sad because I think all the lines that Jon Favreau delivers are delightful. He's fantastic. I guess I started this whole thing of this movie's humorless. There's no humor. There's a little bit. There's a little bit of humor. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the times I laughed were definitely because of the cheesiness. And the CGI is so bad. It's so bad.
Oh my god, if we had to follow one more goddamn projectile, bullet, playing card, his cane, I mean, I'm like, do you guys just run out of ideas?
Yeah. It's so, oh my gosh.
The one thing I did find delightfully stupid is when... It's at the end. Bullseye and Daredevil are fighting in the church, and Bullseye runs out of projectiles, and then they bust through the stained glass window. And as the glass is falling, Bullseye is just like picking all the glass out of the air.
That's hilarious. I think I missed that.
And then he holds up the stack of glass and he, like, starts throwing it at Daredevil. And of course, Daredevil moves out of the way and blocks all of it.
Yeah. It is so funny. It is such a funny idea for a character. I do like that he had his thing and he was just like, yeah, this is my fucking thing and I'm gonna just find any way to do this. And it did amuse me.
And there's, like, the first scene you see of Bullseye is like, those two scenes are designed to let you know that this man is an asshole.
Right, he's like...
He has no morals.
He has no morals, but, like, I do think he does there's definitely a sense that he wants to kill people.
Oh,
like,
God, yes.
Like, in a way that, like, not... humans aren't... I mean, I guess maybe for psychopathic, but it is definitely a kind of thing that I don't think really has ever existed in a human entirely.
Pleasure in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he loves it. The old lady on the plane.
Which was, like, because she was talking too much.
That was awful.
That made me mad, because I was like, that's so unnecessary.
I know.
Like, I was mad, because it was like it didn't seem like you told her to shut up, and you could have just done that, and she probably would have. Like, it seemed like it's like the extremist of passive aggressiveness, and that you actually killed her. Because she's, like, talking to him, and he has headphones, which is already what normal people do to signal I don't want to be talked to. And she keeps talking to him, which, again, is like, I don't know if this would happen in real life, that this woman would continue to talk to him when he's not looking at her. He has headphones in.
Actually, I can tell you that totally happens, because I'll have one earbud in on the bus, and, like, I have short hair, and unless I'm wearing a hat that covers my ears, it's sitting there, like, you can clearly see the little red nib in my ear, and people will just hold conversations with me, and I'm just like,
well, because I'll always be, like, pausing, and I'll be like, wait, I'm sorry, what? And then they'll just start talking to me, and I'm like, no, the point was I was trying to show you I'm not listening to you.
But
and I don't want to be. Yeah.
But anyway, Bullseye's an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh God, which is just, I don't know. But you know, at least it looked like Colin Farrell showed up to set every day and was having fun.
Yeah, he is very silly, but it is like a very
extremely silly,
fun. Yeah. It is such a weird character. I like that also, that he just doesn't have a lot of creativity.
Oh no, he's a one-dimensional character. He's a goofy one-dimensional character because the Kingpin can't be goofy.
Right.
The Kingpin is like runs the show and is supposed to be menacing and super cool.
Right.
So,
he's gotta have too many things going on, whereas Bullseye's literally like, my entire life is just enjoying finding different kinds of objects that can kill people. Like, that is literally just, it seems like literally every single thought he has. Like, we never see him having any other thought in the entire movie other than, I want to have a projectile to kill someone. Like, there's just no other thing that he desires at all. Like,
no. There's one other thing.
What?
There's one other thing. He wants a costume.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's my favorite line. I laughed so hard.
My gosh.
He
already has the tattoo
I want a
on his
costume.
forehead.
Right. No, he's like, I want a costume. I'm like, you're not wearing a costume? Like,
right,
what?
He has...
What do you need? So the Kingpin gives him a longer trench coat.
That is really funny.
Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just like, this is so... It's so ridiculous. I mean, he literally has a bullseye... He branded himself,
right?
Basically, and again, I have never read Daredevil comics, so I don't know if like Bullseye is a prominent character or whatever. I don't know.
I imagine he's probably one of the main.
One of Daredevil's villains.
Yeah.
Okay, which brings me to another very small gripe I had with the film. There are two scenes where people's hands get absolutely, they're done.
Yeah,
you're done. And Elektra, her superpower is she's a good fighter. Like, she's been taking martial arts lessons since she was 5 years old. She's a good fighter. But she is not superhuman.
Right.
She takes a scythe, one of her little forky things. She takes one directly to the hand.
Yeah.
And it hurts. I mean, it looks like it hurts. And she just, pulls
keeps
it out
going.
and keeps going.
No, that bothered me too.
I'm like, hang on. You just damaged, like, all of your nerve endings.
Yeah, you're not like just recovering from that instantly.
No. And then Bullseye gets two very comic bullet holes shot, or one bullet hole shot through each of his hands. And he's like, freaks out. My hands!
Well, because he's like, now this is the only thing that I love. Yeah.
Right. But if we're going by movie logic, in this movie's logic, she should be fine.
Right,
Jennifer Garner took an entire fork to the hand, and she's
I thought about that too. Yeah, because she survives like so much more brutalness, and all he has is his hands get shot. Yeah, very similar kind of wound.
Off.
Yeah, no.
Shot.
Right, because they could still heal theoretically over time. So, and it's also like, I mean, this is a movie about a disabled character still having superpowers, which I get, like, okay, your whole thing is you throw stuff, but like, people adapt and figure out cool ways to do stuff. If you don't have hands anymore, there's no saying you can't just be like Daredevil and have cool superpowers. People adapt to what they got.
Speaking of, she full on stabs him. Daredevil. She stabs him, and
she stabs Daredevil. Oh yeah,
yeah. She's
Elektra.
Totally, right. Because she wants to kill him before she knows it's Matt. Anyway, she full on stabs him, and he's hurting, he's in pain, he's down for the count, and then the next scene is like, yeah, I'm gonna go fight the Kingpin, and as he's walking away, I'm like, wait a minute. She stabbed you in the heart area.
Yeah.
How? And you're just like,
the amount of that entire climax, there's so many inconsistencies, like, with we've already named a few of them, but it is constant. I think like every single beat of the entire climax, I was like, what? Wait, what? Why is this happening? How did this happen? Like, wait, but if you, like, it just breaks your suspension of disbelief. like very quickly, and then it's like, oh, we could break it some more. Like it gets, your suspension of disbelief gets as wounded as every single character in the climax does, and like everyone like is like about to die throughout the like, so it is like how, and then a lot of characters are about to die and are still fighting, and then it's like you want me to believe like, oh my god, this character is about to die, and the emotions of that, but then at the same time they also like characters that are about to die, like Daredevil, just kind of like, yeah, start a whole new big fight, and like he does 3 big fights. He gets wounded at the very beginning of the climax,
And we've established that he has superpowers, like, but he's not Wolverine. He doesn't have a healing factor.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have super strength. He doesn't have super speed or
senses,
agility. His
pain, if anything, and if your pain sense is heightened, then that's not going to be helpful in this
No.
situation.
No, not at all.
What if that was part of Daredevil's thing? He's like, well, all my senses are heightened, so I'm
God.
like, I'm in a lot of pain all the time because little bits of pain are super extreme. I'm also like way too hot or way too cold all the time. Like just
now
like the
you're
most
You're
inconvenient
just
things.
describing me.
Right, exactly. That would be really fun. That should be a new superhero with super senses. Is they just like, it's all of the annoying things as well, and they're just like, oh god, I'm in so much pain just because like I hurt myself.
He gets a paper
slightly.
cut.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like, I'm out for 6 hours, guys.
Right. They're like someone who gets like a minor headache and it's like, I have a migraine. I'm dying. Then it's like, did you drink water? Like, oh yeah, I guess that helped. That would be so funny. We should do that. Don't steal our idea. Trademark.
I used to come up with superheroes when I worked at the deli because I was bored and I had to clean all the time.
Course.
So I came up with a bunch of superheroes. Potato Salad Boy.
Ooh.
His power was he could turn his body into a puddle of potato salad so he could sneak under door cracks.
That's great. It's like an Ant-Man kind of vibe.
Yeah. But like just a puddle of potato salad that moved and was sentient.
I always wanted to have like a bunch of like super power people, like kind of like in Avengers, but they all had super lame superpowers. I'm sure something like that's been done before, but like things that like, and they're like, I don't know what we're gonna be able to do, but like it's like creative problem solving to just figure out anything they can do.
Have you ever my friends and I used to play a game called Useless Superpower. And we talked about a useless superpower we would want to have or that we already have. So, for instance, I have a useless superpower. If you bring me to any Walmart store, no matter what, and I've proved this, I can find the electronics section.
Oh.
And it's a store I've never been to. I know exactly where they are.
Oh, wow. I feel like sometimes with Trader Joe's, I want to be able to do that, but then they're always different, and so I'm like, oh wait, where am I? That's a good.
It's a useless superpower.
Yeah, well, except for unless you want electronics quickly.
At a Walmart.
Yeah, what if you're like, but this is what would be fun about the lame superpower people is you have to like find a scenario where it's like, okay, we're at Walmart and we have 10 minutes and we need to like buy all these different electronics. And so you just set up these scenarios where it's so exciting that it's like, oh my god, they get to use their superpower. Like, it would be so, like, the amount of dopamine hits you'd get if you, like, create these very lame superpowers, and then by the end of it, you create all these scenarios where they actually are helpful. Like, because you get such a dopamine hit when you know that, like, someone has something that seems inconsequential, and then it gets used because it's just, like, very basic narrative storytelling, but when something maintains it, and especially if you've somehow forgotten it or it's like kind of back of mind, you're like, yes.
Well, one of my friend's useless superpowers is he can find the TV remote no matter what. It's just he knows exactly where it is.
Well, that's helpful if you need it.
That's not a useless superpower. That's great.
But the Walmart one isn't good?
No. I never shop at Walmart anyway.
Well, I guess that's true if you never shop at Walmart.
I mean, it's not my power is able to find the electronics department
Anywhere.
in every store. Is able to find the electronics department in Walmart.
Maybe there's like subliminal messages to you.
Maybe
Just at Walmart.
Go shop. Go buy your electronics at Walmart.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think if I have one of those. I mean, I have a good memory, but that's kind of general.
That's a good superpower.
Yeah. I don't know how lame it is. Because it is. I do, my family will always call me when they can't remember something that happened. It's because they'll be like, what was happening at this time? And I was like, okay, so, and they'll give them like 10 details about what was going on at that time period and all this stuff. So, I mean, I guess it is pretty useful. So, that's not a good one. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that because I'm sure I have them.
No, it's
and
okay.
It's one of those things you think about, like I'll remember when I'm.
We'll come back to it. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. Updated in future podcasts. We'll have to
Yes.
check in about the useless superpowers. Oh yeah, send us a recording of your useless superpower.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
See, like that.
There
How
you
I did
go.
that.
There you go. Nice.
Getting into being a podcaster, learn how to do it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So how do we feel?
Is that everything? I think that's.
I mean, we
Covered
didn't
a
talk
lot.
that much about. I mean, there's definitely other aspects of the movie
sure.
that we didn't really cover.
Like aspects of like how to stalk a girl 101.
Yeah. What the and also
not cool,
Is it-
Matt.
not cool at all. Like, because he's like really aggressive towards her, which I think that was when I was the most like, oh wow, this is 2003. This is not a thing that would fly right now. Like,
It's another, it's another trope. Like it's the aggressive man.
Right.
He's just gonna wear her down until, which is kind of nice because then the fight happens and that whole thing is kind of sort of flipped on its head.
yeah,
Because she kicks his ass.
She does.
And he totally deserves it. But then it's another trope because then they're just like, yeah.
well, yeah, because then she's like into it. and
Then
you're
she's
like,
totally into him. Yeah, into it and into him.
on.
And it's like, oh my god, the best. It reminds me of that one episode of Archer. Have you ever seen Archer? Can't remember if we talked about this or not.
No, I don't. I mean, I actually haven't seen it. I
Okay,
know what it is, but I
love it.
it's beloved. It's just one
very
of those I've
beloved.
never gotten
Yeah,
around to.
It's very good. Pretty much all the humor is dialogue based.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you'd
That's
like it a
why I
lot.
would like it. Yes, that's why it's definitely on a list somewhere in my brain.
But yeah, the same scenario plays out in an episode of Archer, and I was just kind of like, well, kind of the same. Anyway, yeah. But at first, I honestly thought I would hate it because I hate how it starts. But the fight itself is actually really fun, and then she kicks his butt.
Right. It is a fun thing. I think like also the fact that he's following her, like, because that's when I was really annoyed about him, like, acting so much like a sighted person, like, because he smells her, I guess, is the thing. But I'm just like, that's part of being blind. It's like if you see someone that you're able to catch that they're attractive enough that you want to like talk to them, they're basically gone instantly. Like, they're out of your vision, they're gone. Like, and so it is like, that is kind of one of the, like, the loud noises. That is something that I think about a lot, because I'm like, oh yeah, sighted people can just like notice someone attractive and then be like, oh, like at a party, and like, oh, I want to talk to them, and then like find a way to kind of talk to them in a non-creepy way of just being like, that is a person that I find attractive. I'm like, I can't fucking do that. And it makes me sad, because I'm like, that is like a helpful thing when you're like dating people, is being able to see. And so the fact that he was still able to do that and be creepy about it, first of all, like, because he's not even just able to do it, he's also taking it to a level of it not being cool anymore. Like, it's not just like, oh, that person's attractive, I'll try to talk to them, and if they're not feeling it, then I'll back off, which is the appropriate way to do that. Instead, he just can tell she's not into it and then follows her out.
Right, well, and then he comes onto her, she berefs him, and then leaves, and then he grabs her hand, and I was like, oh,
Not cool.
oh no. That's when, like, and she responds how I would probably respond, in kind. It's just, don't touch me, don't do that. And then, she beats him up, and then they fall in love, because fighting is sexy and it's so cute.
Yeah, but like, they're not. And it's, I mean, even before they start fighting, I'm just like, well, but I thought she was, like, definitely rejected him. Like, because I was just when they start fight, like, because it was like more of a flirty fighting.
Yeah, but
and it's like she did genuinely not want to. Like, she seemed very genuine when she was like, "Do not touch me. I don't want to talk to you. Please leave me alone." Like, she said a lot of things that, like, an acceptable guy would be like,
yes.
"Okay,
well,
I'm
and
gonna
then
leave."
she goes to flip him and expects him to, I'm guessing fall over or something, and he doesn't because he can fight too.
Right.
And then it's just like, huh. Okay. I mean, that's not wouldn't be my first reaction, but okay,
right.
whatever. I guess they needed something because they couldn't have it's kind of a meet. It is a meet cute. It's absolutely a meet cute.
Right.
But it's like turned on its head because he couldn't look at her and all of a sudden, oh my God, she's so beautiful and da 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 da. They had to have something else.
Doesn't he still do that? Don't they, like, try to, like, make it so that does happen?
Oh.
And it's very unbelievable because he's like, wow, it's a beautiful girl walking in or something, right? Like, it's like...
Yeah, and even,
just like,
even before
even
before she walks in, he's just like, okay, here it comes. 3, 2...
Which,
door
like, what
opens.
the fuck
like,
are you sensing?
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, wait a minute. Do you just have all of a sudden have, like
hot girl radar? That is one of the senses, is being able to tell if someone hot is nearby.
Jesus.
I mean,
So
it doesn't make any sense. And then it's also like, but he can't see how beautiful she is, stupid trope. But then it's also like, but he already is attracted to her for something that's kind of unclear.
Because she's a fighter, and they had that.
But even before that, he's like, I gotta talk to that girl.
Physical
Like,
meet cute. Yeah.
because he does do the thing that, like, sighted people can do, which is like, and that's because he is the one who initiates. Like, oh, there's a cute person there far away, and I'm like, this is so far from an actual blind person. Like, that just is, like, that is literally a thing sighted people do that blind people just cannot do. And it pissed me off.
Yeah, well, if a hot person walks into an establishment that I am at, first of all, I can't tell if they are quote unquote hot.
Right, you have to, like, rely on other people to tell you.
Right. Second of all, I am definitely not just going to go up to them and start chatting them up. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, because it's not
me.
even, like, at a party, too. It's also, like, you have to do it under false pretenses because you're just at a diner. Like, because sometimes you could see an attractive person at a party, and I feel like then it's okay to talk to them. But it's just not a situation where you're... Right, exactly. Yeah. It's not a situation where you just come up and talk to people, which is why he has to, like... trip. What does he do? I can't remember what he honey. Does. Oh,
first he tries to trip over her.
Right,
and then he asks her for the honey, and she retorts, what are you, blind? And she looks up and notices that he's blind.
He is blind.
Yeah.
Right. Which,
actually, which brings me to another point. The sunglasses. I used to hate the sunglass trope. I used to hate that. Like, that is the marker of a blind person. And then I met a bunch of people, such as yourself, who have major light sensitivity.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a real thing. Okay, well.
Though he doesn't have any light vision, at least not that we're aware of.
No, because he definitely wears them and then takes them off at different times, then puts them back on again.
Right, because, he doesn't seem to, like... because we also would know if he had some light perception, because that would probably come up. Plot-wise.
In this case, I think it's just a visual marker, such as cane, that just means blind.
Yeah.
But I think the character in the comics also wears sunglasses as well.
Right. And that, so, I mean,
whatever.
It does mean that he's gonna, if he does still have, like, light receptors for, regulating circadian rhythms, probably dumb to wear sunglasses, but because then you can't regulate your circadian rhythms.
Speaking of comics, something that I noticed this time around that I was very proud of myself for, because I definitely didn't notice it when I watched this the first time, in the locker room when I always want to say Falcone, but that's Batman. When the mobster's talking to his dad and talking about all the fighters that he supposedly beat. Oh, yeah. He mentions Miller, Mack, and Bendis. I don't know Mack, But I know Miller and Bendis refer to Frank Miller and Brian
Right.
Michael Bendis. I was like, yay.
Oh,
They are writers, and not only are they writers, they
Right.
wrote significant runs on Daredevil.
right. That makes sense.
So I was like,
wonder
yay,
who-
that's
wait,
a Easter egg.
Mac. Well, there's also apparently like
I don't know.
Kirby is like one of. There's like some character they refer to. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I was just randomly. I don't know why I don't notice those. I mean, sometimes it is visual, like when Stan Lee does an appearance. I won't always notice if it's too small.
Did you
or
find
something.
it this time?
I never look for it too, which is also part of the reason why I don't notice it.
Okay, so I didn't notice it until this time around.
Okay.
Because I was really paying attention. So Stan Lee is when Matt is still a little kid and he is crossing the street in that whole group of people, and there's a person with a newspaper
Oh.
that almost walks out into traffic, and he stops him and then keeps walking.
Okay.
When the person puts the newspaper down, it's Stanley. And then he
That's-
looks around,
of
but he doesn't
course.
say anything. Yeah,
That-
that's him.
Which
Stan
I
Lee.
did like that, because that is a real thing. Like, sighted people are always looking at their phones and, like, rocking into traffic, and blind people are like, we don't fucking do that shit. We're
right.
paying attention.
Okay, hang on. I can tell you multiple stories when I have almost or have walked into traffic.
Oh, no.
Anyway, yeah, no, I'm a bad blind person. I wish.
I mean,
I
I'm,
wish I
like,
were better.
so afraid of dying. So I'm so careful. I feel like I am in the most danger when I'm with sighted people, because my guard's down, because my like not getting hit by a car guard goes so high up the second I walk outside, and it's just up there until I'm with a sighted person, and then it goes way down, and then I'm like, oh right, sighted people don't fucking know what they're doing, and they're not paying attention, and a lot of times I have stopped sighted people from like getting hit by a car. Like, I was Daredevil doing that. I've done that to people before, like, because people are not fucking paying attention, and I've had to be like, no, we're not crossing right now. So
I think my weird relationship with this character, i.e., just my avoidance with him, is I'm really sick of the fact that this is the first character that sighted people think of when they're talking
Right.
about blindness. Or you ask someone like, name a bunch of disabled superheroes, and obviously Daredevil is the first one, which is fine. Like, that's fine.
are there any, I mean, all superheroes are disabled, but then Daredevil's the only one that's like lives within the
Actually physically
like, oh, except
disabled.
for Professor X also.
And Oracle is another
Yeah.
disabled superhero, and there are a couple with autism that I just learned about.
Oh, that are like
Atomo, I
canon
think.
and have autism, or that are speculated.
No, that actually have autism.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
but
cool. Are
yeah.
they new?
no, they've been around for a
Oh.
while. I learned a little bit about them at Sabine's panel a couple of years ago at Rose City.
Our awesome friend
Our
Sabine.
awesome friend Sabine. Yes. Who Katie at BYP mistakes me for every single time I walk in there. Which is cute. That's fine. I'm like, I'm not nearly as creative or talented as Sabine. I'm just here to buy comics.
I think we have a little coven of blind people in Portland, and I think we are all very talented. That is my read on it.
Thank you. Well,
yes,
I'm not
including
okay.
you.
Let me thank you. Let me rephrase that statement. I'm not talented in the way that she is talented.
She is. I am also a little mad at her for being so good at making comics, because my entire life, like being around comics people my whole life, I always just used the excuse of like, I'm blind, I can't make comics, and then I met Sabine, I was like, fuck you, man. Now I can't do that anymore. I love Sabine also. She's listening.
She's amazing.
I'm not. I don't really.
We love you so much.
And we're gonna have her on at some point, definitely.
Yes. Oh, honestly, we should have had her on to talk about this.
I know. I was just thinking that as we were talking
she
about this.
hates Daredevil with a passion.
Yeah, she would have a lot of. The fucking TV show's a lot of episodes, so we'll have to figure out what we're gonna do about that. But
Okay, so again, I can't compare this movie to the TV show a whole lot because I've only watched the first season and it was years ago. But I can tell you that one of the other things that really annoys me about this movie is I cannot see what is happening during almost any of the fight scenes.
well,
It
that's
is
true of all fight
ridiculous.
scenes.
Yeah,
because that's what I hated about the TV show too, and that's actually why I was just like, I can't do this anymore, because it was just, even with the audio descriptions were like so much detail about fighting, and so you just listen to people describe fight scenes, And good God, that is boring. Especially when they're dark and they're choppy. I was just like,
they're just, well, these especially were pretty egregious. I mean, it's so, like, I just checked out during a lot of the fight scenes because I'm just like, well, I can't see what's happening.
I, like, literally have never, the only movie I wasn't checked out during fight scenes is Doctor Strange.
That had some good fights. But, like, okay, but you know what? About all those fight scenes, they were brightly lit. Even if they were at night, they were brightly lit.
And it's like, and with someone who only has peripheral vision, they're very peripheral vision friendly because they're very immersive in just like, even just what the frame is doing. Like the entire, mise en scène is like completely out there. And I love that. But which is why I feel like I weirdly like Doctor Strange more than I wanted to, just because those scenes are so cool. But that's like the only time I've actually thought a movie was cool because of a fight scene. Like there's so many things like Mad Max. Like people love that movie. I'm like, that's just 2 hours of not knowing what's going on, and it drives me. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck.
I watched Fury Road because now, are you talking about Fury Road specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have not seen any of the other Mad Max movies, but I watched Fury Road specifically because Furious is dope. And
well, that's why I watched it too. But then I was like, I don't know what's going on, and there's like no interesting dialogue. It's so visual.
Oh no, I get it. Like for a visually impaired person, that movie is incredibly hard.
It's so boring,
and everything is a lot of the same color.
Exactly.
I can't
and I just felt like I
anything.
was in the desert. And anytime you make me feel like I'm in the desert, I have no patience for anything. I'm like, I don't want to be here. Get me out of here. I want to be in a forest.
Now, I wonder. They did come out with a black and chrome edition of that film, which is the same film but in black and white.
Oh.
Do you think that would be easier or harder?
I don't know if it'd be easier, but that film definitely wanted to be in black and white. So it is kind of stupid that they released it in color if they were doing that anyway. Because the entire movie, that is something that bothered me about the movie. I'm like, this movie does not want to be in color. Why is it in color? It is so aggressively not wanting to be in color that it seemed dumb to release it that way. I don't know if it would make it better because it really is just, I get very bored. And it is because it's so dependent on all the visuals. Because I just, like, lose patience and I have ADHD, so I'm just, like, you've completely lost. Like, once you've completely lost my attention, it's really hard to get it back. You gotta, like, introduce some real moral quandrams? That's not the word.
Quandrams. That's a good word.
Now I don't even know what the right word. Quandaries.
There you go.
Yeah, you gotta, like, have some like snarky dialogue and like some character relationships, anything. Like you gotta really do all the sky things to grab me again, like once you've lost me to too much fighting. And that movie just doesn't even try. It's just like, no, we're gonna keep fighting, and then we're gonna keep fighting.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then, it's over.
Well, and that was what the movie was sold on. It was one long action sequence, and that's just might not be for you. I mean,
definitely not
I
for me.
I saw it once to see it. It was awesome.
You liked it?
I mean, I liked it because it was fun to watch, because it was a bunch of it. For me, it was a bunch of stuff that I'd never seen before. I'm not saying it was easy
I still have never
to
seen
watch.
it before.
Yeah, no.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying it was easy to watch, because I definitely got lost in a lot of places. But, like I said, I thought Furiosa was dope. But now, have I ever watched it again? No. Do I have any desire to watch it again? No.
Yeah.
But I saw it.
Do you feel like you were able to maybe parse? Because it could also be that my vision was especially, like, untrained, like, not good for the movie. Because it is a lot of just, you're in a desert, and desert's just my vision. It's just like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, please don't do this to me. Like, because deserts are the most possibly stressful thing you could possibly do to me. I can't do sunlight. I need a lot of variation to like get a sense of where I am. So the entire movie is just I'm mad.
It was just physically hard for you to watch.
Right. And I can't relate to them driving, but that's all blind people.
No, I know. I know. I could care less about the driving.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts me out of like the whole Mad Max series. I just don't care very much. But to say that, like, that's kind of why I watched it. I wanted to see it for Furiosa, and I wanted to see it because it was I knew it was going to be something visually that I've never seen before.
What
Can't
do
say
you
I've ever
feel
seen anything
like,
it.
was it just the way that just I mean it is the mise en scène. I'm just gonna really throw that
I mean, okay,
film term out there.
Yeah, nice. You can't say that seeing a dude ride on this huge contraption with like all these speakers hooked up to it and a guitar that shoots fire
Yeah.
isn't kind of amazing. Because
It is though, and it is like so specific because that's the thing. It's like even though I felt so understimulated and just like what the fuck is going on, I still have seen so many movies where they're doing Mad Max, and I'm like, oh, they're doing Mad Max because it is like there's just nothing. You just know that's what they're doing.
Aesthetic,
right? It's like a
these
certain.
These movies have a visual.
It's like
aesthetic.
Gone Father, and then you're just like you do. So it's so iconic because it's just what it is. Like like
right, and it just might not have been your bag.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's definitely not my bag, but it is like I think it's always interesting, like how fight scenes. I feel like there's just such a disconnect with sighted people of like because fight scenes are like they're to me they're making the movie worse, and so you have to make up for them. And like when I hear people being like it's just all fighting, I'm like really why would you want like it is hard for me to understand because I just get it is so I'm getting nothing out of it pretty much like because also like you can notice the Foley work, but the Foley work is so silly in a fight scene. Like it is like. And if anything, it just kind of is distracting if the Foley work is too extreme, and so. But that's like the only sensory input I generally get because it's just unless it's generally too cut to like so you can't really get each shot is just too short to really get a good sense of because it takes my eyes a while to even understand what I'm seeing, and so a lot of times I've just completely lost exactly where we are in a lot of. And you can do a better fight scene where it's not like that, but that is like kind of the lazy, I feel like.
I'm definitely when I'm watching, especially with Daredevil, with the fight scenes being so dark.
Yeah.
I definitely am cueing into what the Foley is doing, and if there is any dialogue, I'm listening for that, and I'm trying to, I'm just listen. I'm trying to figure out.
What's happening
and where I am.
That's why I always liked Buffy, even though people make fun of it for all the quippy things. Like, at least it makes the fight scenes more engaging because you're like, oh, someone's saying something. Like that makes it so you feel like you're... Because I think you just kind of tune out and you also feel just like frustrated. You feel unseen because you're like, oh, so you're not providing anything for me to find interesting here when I do have some vision, so there are things in movies I can see. I also care a lot about there's so much sound that goes into a movie. You're doing scoring, you're doing dialogue, you're doing Foley work, and are you doing anything else? I guess those are kind of the three main things.
Well, yeah, I mean, and for some movies you have to
score and
literally make up sounds that don't exist.
Right. Yeah,
the way Daredevil's vision sounds.
That I do really
Someone
like
probably
the
had to
way
make that up.
It is. I mean, I do like that this movie tried to do some formalistic things because I think that movies about blind people should always be thinking about how to do it formalistically, and I think a lot of them don't bother, and I think all of them should be doing that because I know that's my process. If I'm making a movie about blindness or making film about blindness, the first thing to think about is how you represent that, and there are different ways to do that. But I think part of it for me is a lot of times what I like is when you take the entire frame and you you manipulate it so that it is more the perspective of a blind person. But that's not how movies are made in Hollywood because they're made for sighted people, not blind people, and they're not made by blind people, they're made by sighted people, so they're not thinking in those terms. But I think that any movie about a blind person shouldn't just be like, okay, well because then it is like you're telling sighted people or you're telling blind people that this movie isn't actually for you. Like it's not supposed to be representing your experience. It's supposed to be representing the experience of sighted people looking at you, basically.
And although I don't think this movie was made specifically for a blind audience,
right?
I think there were actually a lot of little touches that showed that they cared. That because definitely in my high school self and my friends. I mean, we felt, for 2 hours, we felt seen. I mean,
yeah, and I did too, even before I knew I was blind. It was like, it was something very indescribable, where I was like, why do people, like, because I always hate movies that everyone likes. That is my entire brand. And so, like, the one time that didn't happen was this movie.
And everybody hates this movie.
Right. No, this was the opposite. I mean, you can't count The Room because everyone loves The Room.
The Room is,
but like,
the room is a masterpiece.
It is
Fight
a masterpiece.
Me. Anyway.
Yes, and I think I agree with many people on that one. But the Daredevil is literally the only movie that I have ever really loved that everyone else has hated. It's always the other way
I'm looking
around.
up the Rotten Tomatoes score because I'm very curious now.
I think it's a 5 on IMDb, but I don't know how
a 5?
IMDb does
Alright.
their thing.
No, I usually consult Rotten Tomatoes.
I would too. I was just on IMDb.
Let's see what we got here.
Well, that's how you tell the difference between the TV show and the movie is the rating.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go.
Not the PG rating, but the 5 to 8 stars.
And literally, well, the first thing that comes up on Rotten Tomatoes is Marvel Entertainment. Okay, here we go. So Rotten Tomatoes rating is 43%, which is rotten.
Yeah.
The audience rating is 35%.
Oh, wow, the audience hated
The
it
audience
more.
didn't like it at all.
Well, I do have even as a child, I did have the heart of a movie critic, so I guess it makes sense that at least I was on the side that was a little bit.
I mean, I think as blind people, we have, or just us two in general, we have a bit of a soft spot for this movie. I know that I have a little bit more of a soft spot than I thought I had.
Yeah, me too. I was expecting to see it with a completely different eyes.
Right. No, like I wanted to watch this expressly with the purpose of coming over here to rip this movie a new asshole. And I watched it. I'm like, you know what? That wasn't too bad.
I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, it is very cheesy.
Oh,
but then
extremely.
but then when we're talking about like blindness stuff, it isn't. It is really like, I feel like it actually did try a lot more than a lot of the movies we've seen so far. Just
I mean,
not that many,
I
but-
think it had to. Your character is Daredevil. He's the man without fear. His whole shtick is he's a blind superhero. And if you just threw your hands in the air and didn't give a shit about the part of that character that's blind,
right,
it wouldn't have worked. I mean, his Daredevil can be Daredevil and be a superhero and work on superhero logic because he's a superhero. Yeah. Obviously, you got to suspend your disbelief. It's not reality, But this is why I think Ben Affleck actually makes a superb Bruce Wayne, because he plays the other half of the character, the quote unquote normal half, so well.
Yeah,
and so grounded. I mean, Matt Murdock feels like a real person to me.
Yeah, he does.
And Bruce Wayne felt like a real person to me. I don't know if I really believe him so much when he's Batman or Daredevil. That sounds mean.
Why
to
does
say,
he get to play all the fun superheroes? I want to play Batman or Daredevil.
I know,
I've
right?
gone my entire life being like, I so bad want to be Batman or Daredevil. Really Batman. I don't know why. I just think I like how he talks in the Nolan
Batman's
ones.
super.
It's super
you
fun.
Oh my god! I think you're the only person I've ever met.
Okay, but that's like the one impression that you can be in a scene and like improv or something, and you can just talk like that, and now you're Batman. It's just so fun because it's so funny. But Dark Knight. I really do truly love that movie. I know it's very cliche.
Personally, I prefer trying to impersonate Bane.
That's it. I just adopted the dark, so.
You were born in the darkness. No, wait, I did that wrong. I was born in the darkness.
We were both born. Well, I adopted it over time, but not in by choice. It kind of just was progressive. But we kind of both were born with the darkness. Gotta give it up.
Born with it. Yeah, we're down with the darkness.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, it is. But Ben Affleck is.
Ben Affleck, international sex symbol.
Well, just gonna.
Sorry.
If it's not true before this podcast, it's true now. We made it happen. It's not a good time to be making him a sex symbol, but. Yeah. No. I mean, it's funny because I was reading, like, he so hated this movie after it came out.
Really?
That he, like, trash talking, and he's like, I'm never gonna do because this was 2003, so the way superheroes, it was a thing. It was very different.
It was still, superhero movies were still really
right, it was
stupid
a genre,
and stigmatized, and
like, you could be a movie star and say you didn't want to be in superhero movies, which now that would be so laughable.
Oh,
it's like,
I know.
do you want to work or no?
Oh, exactly.
So are you
exactly.
saying you're retiring from being a movie star? Is that what you're saying? Like, you can't do that. But, you know, now we know you can't do that because he did play Batman after. But it is, I find, very funny because I enjoyed this movie, and his next time playing a superhero after complaining and saying this movie was so bad was the landmark Supreme Court case, Batman v Superman.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The worst movie of all time.
The worst movie. The worst. I remember being so excited. I went and saw it with a group of friends, and I'm just like, I left actively hating the movie. I'm like, I am so sorry, because our friend of ours bought our tickets. I'm just like, I am so sorry.
That's so
like,
funny.
I'm really sorry. I was so done.
I have to say that I did not wind up seeing it, but that was a movie that I, from very early on, was like, this could be so bad, and anyone thinks that it's not going to be. I don't even remember why I thought that, but I called it.
Boring.
That's what I've heard. It's because that's why I would have seen
boring.
it if I heard it was like Cats or something. Then I definitely would have seen it.
No, it's long.
Like, it's just long and
drawn out.
It's like Mad Max
boring.
to me. Like, it's just basically like everyone in the world is seeing how I see Mad Max.
The only good part about that movie is when Wonder Woman comes in at the end. That's it. And then she's here for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then you're like, yeah, that was cool.
That's it.
I'm good.
Did that come out before?
No. There's a in Dawn of Justice. There is
the landmark Supreme Court.
That's good. I've never heard that.
It's me.
That's really good.
Trademark Sky.
No. So in the movie,
yeah.
In the movie, Wonder Woman, they have to fight Doomsday, basically. So in the movie, Wonder Woman comes in to help them out. And so for the last fight scene, you get like the Trinity. You get Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all working together. And Wonder Woman is like kicking ass, and she's awesome. And then she goes away, and it's stupid.
That's what was it? What was the timeline? So did it come out like before Wonder?
No.
Why did I think it did?
Yes, it did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it did. The timeline
so was
goes.
It still Gal Gadot though?
Yes.
Okay.
The timeline goes: Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League.
Okay. And where's
and
the
only
Suicide Squad play? Yeah, because it's still Affleck.
He's in that. He's in that movie for a hot minute though.
It is.
Does he even have a line? I can't remember.
I think he might. That movie is. I did see.
You know,
truly a masterpiece of bad movie.
Oh my god! I saw that with a friend and just hated it. I mean, it was terrible. And then it came out on HBO a while ago, and I just for funsies, I was like, I'll give it a try. And I made it 20 minutes in.
Oh my god!
And I was just like, this is so. I have so many better things I could be doing with my life right now than watching this stupid movie. So I stopped.
I did see it a couple times because it is, the first time I was like, why is everyone excited about this? I was also very mad about it.
Did you lose a bet? You saw it a couple of times?
Well, I saw it with a friend the second time, because the first time I was, like, dragged to it, because I was like, everyone knows this is going to be bad. And people were like, no, not everyone knows yet. Like, this is the past. We're Sky, only you. This is my superpower. I know when movies are going to be bad before everyone else does.
I don't know. I wouldn't call that a useless superpower. Anyway,
continue. I mean, I feel like it's as useful as maybe finding a remote. But yeah, I was dragged to Suicide Squad, and then I was like, oh yeah, so this was truly bad. And then I was kind of mad about how bad it was, but I think even then I was like, it was kind of fun, because I do really love watching a movie that has just so failed at being a movie, and just and knowing how movies are made. I love when you're like, oh wow, there's not a single thing that could have not, that did go right. Like, it was literally every possible idea of a thing that could go wrong in a movie did go wrong in this movie, and I just I just love, because I have talked like for 5 hours about just how many things do not work in that movie, and just like the confusion about how anything happened, like, because it is the most inconsistent thing. No one has any motivation.
No, well, and to tie it into to Daredevil, the fight scenes in that are also gray. The whole movie is gray.
It's true.
All of the fight scenes are gray. They're boring.
That's true. The fight scenes, though, at least I get excited because it is so much of it is nonsense. Also, the soundtrack is the mixing on that movie. Like, this is what I love, is it just has all of the little things are so wrong. Like, that only, like, if you've been immersed in, like, film studies and how to make movies, like, you notice just all the different, like, at one point, they have, like, a Kanye West song, and I only, like, know that it's Kanye West song because I love this song, so I can recognize it. In another useless superpower I have is being able to recognize a song in a very loud place that's playing on the music. Very useless, I can tell you, from having that for a long time. I've never been useful, but now I'm remembering all of them. But there's a Kanye West song playing in the background, and it's like at a firing range, and so they're shooting guns, and it is so loud that you literally cannot hear any part of the song, and by the time all the loud noises of the shooting the guns is over, the song fades out. Like, the best I could describe the soundtrack is just, it's like a radio playing a bunch of top 40 stations, like, just on scan, where it will, like, play each station for 30 seconds and then go to the next one. Like, that is the soundtrack to Suicide Squad. Anyway, I could talk about this forever.
Have you seen Birds of Prey?
Not yet.
Oh, well, and I can't say go to the theater to see it. Birds of Prey is amazing. It is everything that Suicide Squad should have been and wasn't.
But I would really love if it was everything that Suicide Squad was.
No, because Birds of Prey is good.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm just over superhero movies, so I really love when they're bad.
No, I get that. Yeah, I totally get that. Actually, the last movie I saw before all the theaters closed was Emma.
Oh, is that a superhero movie?
No.
I was gonna say.
No. See, I do. Contrary to popular belief, I do watch more than superhero movies. But no,
well, it's just you have to try hard to do it. So
that's
it's like
true.
You got to show you care.
I really try hard. I make it a point to go see not superhero movies. So I'm like, these movies, at least the good ones, deserve money. They deserve my butt in a seat to watch them.
Well, Marvel really needs you to buy tickets. They're struggling.
Oh, I know they're struggling so hard, guys.
Yeah.
What are
support
they
the poor people at Marvel and Disney.
Poor Marvel and Disney. They had to push Mulan back indefinitely. God.
Are you kidding me? The only thing I was excited about.
I know, right? I was like, this is, out of all the live action remakes, let's go. Like, this one, let's dance. Let's do this.
I worried that it almost feels like just an apparition that you would actually have a gender fluid character, because they've literally never had a protagonist that's gender fluid ever again. It's the only time I've ever seen that part of me reflected in movies. And having someone who is AFAB, going as a man for a while and then going between the genders, and that as a kid, that and Daredevil were the two things where I'm like, oh my god, I'm a real person.
Nice.
I'm here. And
I like the headcanon that a lot of people are presenting, which is Li Shang is bi. Because if
God.
you remember,
yes, I know. This is how I read it as well when I was a kid.
Okay,
yes.
I'm like, good. I am not the only one who
I was
thought it was crazy.
You found your genderqueer person, and you found a bi boy to be your sweetie. It's just the dream. I was just the first time I ever watched something where I'm like, oh my god, this could be me as an adult. I could grow up to be like this. Oh, beautiful. I love it.
I love it. So I was super stoked for this, because I love movies. I grew up a couple of blocks away from a movie theater, so that is just what my family did.
Yeah.
Every weekend, we'd go to the movies.
My parents,
almost no matter what was playing,
met working at the movies, so that was an extremely big part of my childhood too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just for me, going to the movies is really comforting, and it's just, I enjoy it, and it's just something I love doing, because I can afford it. I've always been able to afford it. I'd go to the theater more if I could
If it
if I
has
could
gotten
afford
more
it.
expensive, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so not being able to do that right now really sucks. Because like no matter what, even if I couldn't find anything to do on a day or whatever, I could be like, all right,
Just go see a
I'm gonna
movie.
go see a movie.
Yeah, it is. It is really sad that because I go see movies alone too. There's a lot of movies. There's not a lot of people in the theater, but I mean, I think it's like also part of what's nice about seeing a movie too is when you are feeling alone, you can go see it and it feels very comforting.
Yeah.
And it is like not this like as much as I do love a lot of TV, which you can't see in a movie theater, but it is still there's something about watching something alone that is different. Because even if you like the characters, there's still a sense of you still need to go outside and socialize with people, and you are very aware of that if you're watching too much TV.
Yeah, well, and a movie theater is like you can socialize with people, but you don't have to talk to them.
Right, it is a good like being
in
around
a room with
people.
a bunch of people,
and it's also acceptable for you to do it alone too, which is like something because there's a lot of things that I'll do alone where I'm like, I don't think this is like a thing that people might be judging me for being here alone, but I don't. Care, but it's still
the worst is when I go out to a sit down restaurant, which I don't go to very often alone. I'll go to a cafe alone because what the fuck ever, it's a cafe.
Of course,
a lot of people are there alone. But like a sit down restaurant, I usually will go with friends because
I'm the same way. I'll get like takeout if I'm eating alone.
If I'm alone, because I have gone alone and I've brought like a book or a game or my tablet.
Yeah, me too.
Or whatever.
People weirdly judge you.
People are so weird.
Yeah, they do. I'm exactly with you on that because I'm like, why can't I do this alone? And I think sometimes people are like, learn to like go to restaurants alone. I'm like, I did learn to do that, and people do genuinely judge you. You're always like, why are you like? It's, and there's a loneliness epidemic, and I feel like people who don't have a big support system, there is, like, it's not just that it is extremely bad for your health. Like, there is a social stigma to it, and it's really messed up considering how big of a problem it is right now in the world. Like, there's so many people who are isolated. Not to mention, this is pre-coronavirus I'm talking about. Like, the loneliness epidemic is way before that, and now I can't imagine how bad it's getting.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not very good at, like, going somewhere. Like, I don't go to a lot of bars and or pubs, mostly because I'm alone.
Right.
And I'm not that person who can sit down next to a bar and be like, hey, how are you? What's your name? Let's have a conversation.
I
can't do it.
Only like abled
can't do it.
White men who do that. I'm always like, why do you... How? Because I think there's also like there's a fear of like I don't want to like get drugged or something. Like
I'm honestly not necessarily terrified of that because I am quote unquote not a hot person. So I'm like,
fuck people.
I know, I don't care. But I'm like, people are
that sucks.
People will leave me the fuck alone.
It's an unuseful
blind.
No, it is a very useful superpower in that.
yeah. But no, I have a few pubs that I will go to by myself because I feel safe there, and
That's
people
nice.
leave me the fuck alone, and the bartenders are really nice.
Right, that's a big part of what you need.
That's nice. Yeah, but a lot of sit down restaurants and cafes, sit down restaurants, I just don't go to.
Well, because I think it's also like servers who are the people you're interfacing with. You can tell that I feel like a lot of the judgment comes from them as well. Like, so finding places where the staff isn't judgmental is really helpful. Because, like, people, I think other people do judge you for being alone, but it is, like, a lot of time when you're dealing with, like, hosts and hostesses. Why are those so gendered? That's dumb. Whatever. People working at a restaurant, not everyone does this, but I feel like sometimes I have felt the most, like, weird about it from servers and stuff, where I'm like, there's a weird judgment about it, but
that's interesting. I don't think I've ever had that experience where the servers and the staff have judged me. It's more
other patrons.
It's more the other patrons.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I'm just like I just feel weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I do too. I mean, like, that's interesting. I wonder, because I'm also trying to think why I think that, because it is something I very strongly think does happen. And it also just depends on, like, the place. There are places where, like, that's why I like to, if I'm going to eat somewhere, sit down, I like a place I already know the way, because the servers stay the same. So that, like, helps.
My guess, because my mom was a server for years. My guess is the party of one thing, maybe they just know that they're not in for a good tip.
Right. Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Or yeah, like a decent tip, because like if you have two
yeah,
or three
well, I
people,
feel guilty about that too.
everybody's
and
gonna
that's
tip.
probably true. And I mean, maybe that's understandable. I mean, it's fucked up that
It's
people don't get paid enough usually.
Yeah, it's fucked up that we live in a society that's run on tips.
Yeah, that makes,
to
like,
be honest.
Yeah, instead of employers having the responsibility of paying their workers.
You should pay your wait staff and chefs and hostesses and hosts and bartenders a living wage instead of having them have to beg for tips, because it's ridiculous. No, yeah, in Florida, when we went on our
minimum wage.
Oh my God, when we went on our family vacation, we went and had, we ate at like a Denny's or something. And the waitress was really nice, and my mom, having been a server, striked up a conversation throughout our whole meal. And she asked her as we were leaving, she's like, I'm just curious, we're from Alaska, we're not from here, how much do you guys make? And she's like, yeah, I make $2.50 an hour.
And then tips.
And my mom, like, her jaw hit the floor. We left that woman $20.
Yeah.
I've never seen her leave someone that big a tip.
I mean, it's
couldn't
just so
believe it.
fucked up. Ugh. And then, like, there are places where it's like, yeah, if you don't make enough tips, they'll, like, give you minimum wage for the hour.
There are some restaurants in California, I believe, that are doing the tipless system. And it works out great.
It is a better
the staff
system.
The staff is better because they're not competing with each other.
Right.
And
then they, yeah, that is like it's like in commission is the same problem of like, it shouldn't, like, a competitive work environment is never good. And it's especially bad if you're like trying to do hospitality. Like, it just goes counter to even what you're trying to do. Like, it's bad when it's all sorts of companies, but at least they've like made that part of their culture, which is not good. I mean, it's all bad. You should never be competitive in a workplace, because that does not motivate people. It motivates people to undercut their coworkers, which is not very helpful to like getting good stuff done.
So here's my question. So when you go to the airport, do you have a guide or help from them to get you like to the gate or through security or whatever?
I do it to get through security because I don't want to wait in no line.
Right. Oh, hell no. I hear you. Work that disability card.
Yeah.
But like, to have someone physically walk you to the gate, or when you get home, when you get off the plane, have someone take you to the luggage
At
place.
LAX, I've had to do that.
Okay. So my question is, do you tip them?
No. Are we supposed to do that?
Apparently you're supposed to tip them.
Wait a second, but that's like, they work for disabled people. That's
I know.
Fucked up.
And they work at the airport. Like, that is literally their job. Apparently, there's no written rule that says you must tip these people, but apparently you're supposed to tip them.
I'm not gonna do that, because that's I mean, like, not to say that that's not important service. I've definitely had people who are very ableist do that, and it's been really stressful for me. So there have definitely been nice people, but I've had a lot of really bad experiences with people like saying shitty stuff to me or being aggressive in a way that scared me. Like, so it's not like, sometimes it's good, but a lot of times I've not had great experiences. So definitely not feeling motivated to, like, they're not the people who help disabled people that I'm always really happy to interact with. A lot of times it's stressful because I don't like it.
Well, it started with my dad. When I would go to the airport, especially leaving from home or whatever, he'd give me snack money or something, and he'd give me a couple of fives, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And he's like, the fives are for tips, like, you tip the people. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, for getting food, like,
no, the tips were specifically for the guides.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not. No.
When you're writing, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't. And do you have any confirmation that that's true? Like, when you tip them, it's not like they were, because some places you're not allowed to like take tips. So
yeah,
wasn't
no,
that
they
true?
take
that
it.
wasn't true.
They take it. I've never had anyone deny me a tip or deny taking a tip from me.
Okay.
No, and maybe the rule is you're not supposed to, but people do it anyway. Because
it could be that they're like, we're not actually supposed to be taking this.
because I've definitely worked at jobs and gotten tips, and you're not supposed to take it, and I've taken it.
Right. So that could be, because I just like, that's very unfair in that, like, abled people still go through security and so they don't have to pay. Like, because it's one thing if it's like a server is serving everyone, and so it's not like you have to give them money. I mean, even though it's not a good business model, it's still like when you're interacting with it, it's not because you're blind they have to give them a tip. Like, but that is literally like, so this is things able people don't have to pay this. Like, and I feel like there's so many disability taxes, but that one's so blatant.
Well, we don't. I mean, like I said, there's nothing that says you have to tip these people. I have not tipped them. There's definitely been times before where I have not tipped.
Because I try to tip everyone that you're supposed to tip, so that's like.
But you also don't have to, as a disabled person. I've never had to pay for this service at the airport. It doesn't cost extra.
But it's like ADA. It's the airport's responsibility to provide that.
Correct.
It's like an elevator. It's like paying to go in an elevator.
Right. Yeah. I see your point. But I think maybe because people tip bellhops and valets.
Yeah, but they're doing that for everyone though. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
Because specifically a service for disabled people. So no one else would have to pay for that. Mm-hmm. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that I will tip them if I can, and if I can't, I'm sad, but I don't necessarily feel super guilty. I feel way less guilty than if I don't tip at a restaurant or at a cafe.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm like,
I've had times where I have been with people that I didn't necessarily, they were friends of friends I wouldn't necessarily hang out with otherwise. That one time someone who didn't tip, and I was like, okay, cool. So now I am just giving you $12 because it was like a big bill. And I was like, we're not going to fucking leave here without a tip. So I have to just give more money basically. And so like I was very mad. But like, because there's no way I'm going to be associated with a group of people that doesn't give an adequate tip.
I had someone tell me that if they cannot tip adequately or above adequately, they won't do it.
Yeah,
that's I'm that's
I mean, I'm the same way, which is why this whole disability thing's making me mad, because I will tip anyone that's part of their income. Like, because even if I don't agree with the system, I feel like we're at the beginning of Reservoir Dogs, but but the idea that like I like want to know. Oh, another thing to send us a voice message about: do you tip the disabled help? I mean, I don't know what the exact term for what that job is. I mean, it's not, I don't think people who do it's their entire job, because I think there's a lot of rotating around.
There's gotta be. They gotta do other things.
I believe so. I mean, it's not enough of a job to like be your entire day doing that, I think.
I don't know. Then again, airports are huge. Well, most airports are. So, you know, maybe they have a select group of people.
Yeah, but I mean, I've also, just to circle back to the experiences I've had. I've had some really bad experiences, like with people being very like shitty to me, to the point that I was like, I kind of wish I just had waited in the line.
That is when. So unfortunately, that is the deciding factor for if I'm going to tip or not.
Yeah, well, that should be, but also shouldn't have to ever tip for that.
No, but that's.
But yeah, that's a frustrating thing for me that I think about, like when I take a Lyft and a driver is kind of like rude to me because I'm blind and is really not understanding that I'm like, I can't see this thing, so you're like not being helpful or being like weird. Then I always tip Lyft drivers, so I'm like, what do I do? Like, because I don't want to just not tip someone,
right?
Like, because I don't like, I tip because I'm just like, that's a part of your income and I'm not gonna fucking rob you of that, like, and that's why I tip. And so when I have really bad service or when I feel like kind of scared, I'm like, I don't really want to reward this person. But then also like the way I tip, I just think of it as like this important part of your income that needs to come in. So I get frustrated. I'm like, why were you me? You could have just been nice and I wouldn't have to think about this.
So what is a good Lyft tip for you? I usually will tip, my base is like $3. And then if you're really awesome, I might go higher. I usually do like $3.
Nice.
Okay.
It's hard. I also like will take small rides multiple times, which is annoying because it's like, this is just way more money than because I'll like be taking a ride there and back somewhere. So I'm like, I can't just do this all in one because I'm literally, the whole ride is, why I left to do something.
Actually, well, I don't know how you do this if, say, you took a ride to the store and then had to shop and then go back. But there is a way during your ride you can add stops.
Right, you can add stops, and I actually did do that once to pick up a prescription at a close by pharmacy. So I just ran in and grabbed it and came back out and then went back home, and I was like, yeah, the app was not having my thing. It was very confused by what I was like, this can't be that abnormal to just like run and get something, come back. But I will occasionally do that, but it's mostly just like for very specific things. Like most of the time when I get a multi-stop ride, it's because I'm sharing a ride with someone who lives somewhere else than I do. But we live on the way from each other, so that's usually when I'll do multi-stops. But I don't generally do it to like pick stuff up because it just takes too long to pick things up. So that wouldn't really work if I'm like, I'll be back in 30 minutes.
Yeah, no. Well, good. Okay, good. I feel better about my $3. Like, if I were a movie star or a millionaire, of course I would tip more.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Well, also if they like got healthcare, it's kind of on Lyft and Uber to like, again, it's kind of like, why is it everyone below that or whatever, like, has to deal with all this shit, and then these very large companies make a lot of, well, I don't know if Uber and Lyft really make any money, but they definitely get a lot of it coming in, even if they don't make it.
Well, they must make a lot of money because, so a driver will take a ride, I don't know, I'm going to say a $30 ride because it's easy to do the math. So you call a driver and your ride is like $30. The driver only gets half of that ride plus your tip. So the driver's only making $15.
Then why aren't they profitable?
I thought they were profitable.
No, they're not profitable.
Really?
Yeah, that's why the prices went up at a certain point, because they're not profitable when they went public. That like was they had to disclose that. Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
So there's.
Shit. I don't know. Well, they should pay their people better.
Yeah, they should. I mean, yeah, definitely. I always have that sigh of, like, once you start going down the road of all the things that are wrong in the world, it just reminds you of all the other things, and you just keep going down and down. And sometimes I have to remember, it's like a meditative thing, like when you note a thought, it just, my sigh is just like, oh yes, the world, very fucked up. A lot of aspects to it being fucked up.
Yeah, that's the one thing, that's the only thing we can depend on right now, is the world is fucked up.
Yeah.
It's the one thing we know for sure. The world is fucked up.
There's some consistency in life.
Anyway, that half an hour long tangent, whatever that was cool.
We should do maybe our final impressions.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is, I'll do the little explanation. This is our blind acuity test, where we both come up with a number of, like, in the parlance, is that right? Of like 20/20 vision would be a very non-blind movie, like something that's entirely sighted people everywhere. There's no blind person was ever talked about in the entire process. And then 2200 would be like, this is like legit, this is a real blind person movie. That's legal blindness, that's why 2200. Anything above 2200, super blind, awesome, not like Daredevil super blind, but like very awesome to blind people. And then anything between 20 and 200. I mean, I guess people understand how math works, so I'll stop there. But yeah, so do you want to go first?
Sure. So, gosh, I'm probably gonna rate this a lot higher than I initially thought I was, because I just had a really good time with this movie. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm probably sitting at like a 2090.
Okay.
Maybe even a 2100 if I think about it. 2100 was my gut reaction. Then I'm like, okay, just walk that back for a second here. Let's go with the 2090. Yeah.
What made you walk it back? If you can.
Because I definitely wouldn't point to Daredevil and say this is a good portrayal of a blind person, because you can't really say that Daredevil the superhero. You can't really judge this movie on Daredevil the superhero, because he's a superhero. Yeah. Or, Super Crip if we're getting into that. He's that trope.
We could have gone into that. Probably should have
gotten into that. That's a whole nother can of worms. And then Super Crip leads to inspirational porn. Anyway. Yeah. Which I don't think this movie is. Inspirational porn. But it's definitely would qualify as a Super Crip. Anyway, that's the only thing that's really holding me back. But judging Matt Murdock on Matt Murdock, You know, I don't know. I think Batfleck did a pretty good job, actually. I mean, I believed him.
Yeah.
He acted it well.
Which
you
is
know?
weirdly hard sometimes.
I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, good eye lines. It's all about that. We need a whole segment that's specific to eye lines.
Eye lines, yeah.
We actually probably should put that part of our ratings. How is the eye lines on this? Because I do notice it. I like every movie we watch. I'm very interesting.
Because I can't see people's eyes.
Right. I
So-
kind of can't. But I'm just very. I think it's like. I very much notice that in general. I think it's from like being a cinematographer.
Oh, definitely.
Kind of. That's
Definitely.
And like continuity. I'm very obsessed with continuity. Maybe it is a peripheral vision person thing. Like, because continuity especially is super peripheral vision. Like, I'll notice errors quicker than I think sighted people will. But yeah, so I'm always like thinking about eye lines in normal movies. So that's maybe why I always notice it, especially when movies about blind people. But yeah.
So I think I'm sitting very comfortably at a 2090. I
Nice.
don't hate this.
Yeah. I think, I mean, honestly, I would give it maybe closer to like a 2130. Because
Okay.
I feel like it's funny because like I was thinking when doing this podcast I was going to rate things very low, but I also didn't expect that I also have very low standards. And so I think that has definitely really almost more affected my ratings, because I think the fact that they really did think through what perceiving the world with different senses than just vision is, and I think that is a big trap that a lot of these movies fall into, of just like being so focused on the lack of sight and like what sight is like, and thinking kind of like how when studies of like blind people are not actually to help blind people, they're just like, well, sight does this because blind people act this way, and it's like, okay, cool, could you do a study that actually helps us and like we would care about? That's it. Yeah, another thing. But like I think that is a cool thing about the movie, is just how much it tries to really think through like other senses and how that works. And I did, like, as a kid, I think recognizing someone in a movie in that way it just really didn't happen. And I think it really stuck with me as a kid because of that. And now as an adult, with like I was also surprised that, like, because I thought like, okay, I was so deprived of any, like, I wasn't even allowed to be blind, so I was just so it was something I wanted so bad and felt so far away. And so it's like maybe that deprivation of blind representation as a kid like made this seem way better than it was. But I like, even though it does have a lot of problems, and there are things that were unbelievable, and there were a lot of inconsistencies, and at least I think it tried more to think, and I really did like love the way that it visualized, and the way that it really tried to like use the visualizations and the soundtrack, the mix in general, to like think through, like, we have film is limited sensory wise because you have pictures and you have sound and that's all you got. And so like with blindness, theoretically you're just kind of cutting one off and you just have the other, which is like a challenge to figure out how you want to balance that. And I think that like I really did like the way that they visualized blindness in a more kind of interesting way, that you got to actually see his perspective. And you didn't just kind of be like, oh, well, we can't really represent blindness, so we're not going to try. And the way that the soundtrack also did that. And, you know, it has a lot of problems too. Like, it also is like, just has a lot of movie problems. I think a lot of the problems are more movie problems, like that it is inconsistent and that it is like the CGI is not great. I mean, but that's also like looking back on it. I mean, I'm sure it was fine for the time period.
Well, and I mean, the story, the plot is very like, it's pretty pedestrian. It's point A, point B. Like, you know exactly where everything is going.
And you even have some like unhelpful tropes when it comes to like the gender politics, and also like racial politics of like only having the only black character being the villain not great. So, doesn't really hold up in that way. But yeah, so that's kind of where I fall. Cool.
Well, thank you for that rousing endorsement.
I know. I'm like, this is so funny. I was like, I'm gonna be so negative and be so mad, and then I'm like, oh wow, like.
And then you actually watch the movie again, and you're like, you know what? Yeah. Well, it's little touches. The fact that the opening of the movie, the buildings are lit in Braille.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
That was a lot of fun.
That's literally the first time I'd ever seen Braille on the big screen.
It's
and I'm
true.
Like, and my friends and I are sitting there like, oh my god, like we can actually read that.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That's so cool. I
Yeah.
wish I could read Braille.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
I know it's not.
But I don't want to be like because Braille is actually a dying art.
It is definitely.
It is totally Braille. The Braille printer in Matt's office.
Yeah.
It's the quietest Braille printer. Have you actually heard a Braille printer?
No, this is great.
Oh
I'm glad that you're giving this evidence.
It sounds like 500,000 jackhammers because it's just and then it prints like a line and then it is ridiculously loud and terrible. And I'm like, where is this? I want one of those. Like, it's just like,
well, because that's so funny, because then he would be like, possibly, oh no, I can't understand what's going on, or maybe fine, depending on how the writers are feeling.
how the writers feel. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, just
well, that's great. I
throw that in there.
No, that's excellent, because that is not experience that I have, and that is very good. I'm glad that you have that experience to bring to the podcast, because that is an important, and it is true that like only 20% was it? I don't know the exact statistic,
very low
but it's
number.
a small percentage of blind
Yeah.
people can read Braille.
I can write it better than I can read it.
Nice.
I am shitty when it comes
It's
to reading Braille.
Very hard.
It is so hard.
I've I've seen them do like the egg thing where they're like, here are the different letters. And I'm like, okay, I think I could get this eventually. I could memorize this. That could probably be fine. But then to actually feel that and for it to translate on what I feel, I just don't know if I'd be able to get past it. Like, because it's very hard. And I know that it's like, you get better at it, obviously, like anything with weird
It's a
sensory
skill.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it is really hard to like figure out how to do that.
It literally took me almost 2 years, I think, to learn my letters and numbers, because you just drill them over and over and over again.
Was that mostly to memorize them, or was it mostly to like be able to feel them properly?
A little of both.
Okay.
Because Braille is divided up into 2 grades, grade 1 and grade 2. Grade 1 is literally just the letters and the numbers.
Right.
That's it. All you learn is the letters and the numbers and how to spell and write things. Grade 2 is everything else. Because Braille is a bunch of fucking contractions, and it's ridiculous. Right. It's cool, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. That's a whole nother.
I know. We're going to talk about this more.
I literally used to do Braille presentations for sighted kids in high school, so like I can go through the entire thing.
Why did you need to do that, or did you choose to do that?
I chose to do it.
Okay, that's good. As long as you
fun.
didn't.
It was really good public
required.
speaking. Yeah. No. Well, no. That's a whole nother story, but yeah.
Oh, well, this is good. We're
Public
going to have
speaking.
to get into this if any other movies have Braille in them.
Yes.
Which we'll see.
Yes, we'll see. We'll see.
We can just bring it up even if it's not. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of the things. Sunglasses, cane, Braille. You got to hit those marks.
It's visual shortcut for this person is blind.
Right, because you got to do vision. Which, I mean, part of me is like, it's a movie, so what else are you going to do? I mean,
you go.
It is, but it is definitely interesting. And we'll get a better sense of even more of that cinematic language as we keep going.
I mean, would I recommend that people watch Daredevil, Ben Affleck's Daredevil? Yeah, but it's a very like, meh. It just kind of is.
It's of its time in a lot of ways, too.
It's very much of its time. I would say if people really want to watch Daredevil, you should watch Netflix Daredevil. It's just better.
We're going to have to watch it, because I was not super into the Netflix one. So it'll be interesting to go back and, because I just, now I'm like, don't want to. There's so much to talk about, but we'll have to watch the show, because it will be really interesting to compare the two. But I guess for this one, we have to.
Would you
Wait.
recommend it to anyone?
I mean, I think for me, like, the what I enjoyed about this was how personal for me it was. And I mean, maybe that is because it, like, is a representation of, like, it's still in my head of, like, as a child being seen when I had when I wasn't seeing it with blind friends, I was seeing it with people like my parents who also didn't, like, know, like, it wasn't even allowed to be openly blind yet. So so I think that really made it feel very personal in a way, and I don't know if I could really recommend it for reasons outside of that, you know, like, so I feel like if I'm talking to someone, I'm not really sure what you get out of it entirely. I mean, I think maybe if you're talking about how to represent blindness in film, I do think it would be a good example, at least to, like, consider if that's something, because I mean, I guess as a blind filmmaker, it's something that's come up more in my life than literally and probably anyone else's life. So I'm like, this is a topic we always are talking about, blind people making films. I'm like, no, probably not a topic, just a topic I'm always talking about.
I think what we're both saying in, like, a roundabout way is we because of who we are and our experiences, like, we watch this with rose tinted glasses, like, heavy rose tinted glasses, nostalgia goggles, whatever you want to call them.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
It's cheesy and stupid and goofy, but you know, I've come away watching it this time and I'm like, there's actually a few things I really like in here.
Yeah, it's surprising when you have low expectations going in. That's I mean, a glowing endorsement from us. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So next time we are going to break from format just a little bit, we are going to talk about the TV show See. If you want to see this, it is. I know it's bad.
I'm sorry.
I know. But you can watch it on Apple TV. Which, if you have a new Apple device, they are just giving subscriptions to this service away. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have it free for a year.
Can I get it free for a year? I updated my Mac recently. Does that count? No,
well, dang. No, you have to physically buy a new device, and then you get, like, a year free.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, but we are going to watch it because I've been excited about this show since I saw the previews last summer in one of their keynote presentations. So,
and I've had multiple people be like, I want to hear on your podcast what you're going to say about this, like, just in my life. So
we're going to do it.
By popular demand.
Yes. So look forward to that next time. We're going to be talking about Jason Momoa in See.
And we're going to try, this is, like, experimental since it's our first TV show. So we're going to try to do 2 episodes at a time and, like, maybe put some movies we probably will put some movies in between the 2 episodes, so we're kind of making our way through the season. It's an experiment. Maybe we'll get tired of that format halfway through and then, like, do them all in one episode, or I don't know, whatever, but we'll see how it works. But for now, we're going to start by doing the first couple episodes and go from there. But I'm really excited because it is an interesting plot. And I haven't seen any of it yet, so I'm excited to.
Me too. I'm excited to finally talk about this with somebody.
I know this is why this podcast is so great. Good for us for making this podcast.
Yay.
Okay, this is our segment that we do every week called Stuff to Do. What is your stuff to do this week?
Okay, so I actually have been thinking about this a little bit, and I have something. So my stuff to do this week is it's a binge watch. If you have Netflix, boot that up and binge watch Tiger King.
Oh.
This thing is crazy. It's a 7-part documentary series. It's a limited series, so there's only ever going to be 7 episodes. And it tells the story of Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic is a gay, mullet-wearing, gun-toting cowboy who lives in Oklahoma and has 227 tigers.
What is this called? I'm writing this
Tiger
down.
King. Yeah, I know.
I know I'm recording this and I'm gonna edit it.
I thought about it when I was watching. I was like, Sky would really like this.
Thank you for for being there for me.
It's called Tiger King. It will eat up all of your time. I binge watched.
Oh, but I am
the
so
whole
busy
thing.
right now with the coronavirus.
I know,
I'm just doing stuff
right?
all the time. So much
busy.
going on.
So busy. No, I literally was like, okay, I'm going to parse this out. I'm going to watch like 2 episodes a night so I can make it last. I watched all 7 last night.
Oh my god.
It's insane.
Are they half, did you say if they're half hour?
45
Okay.
minutes.
So
Yeah,
they're
so
like
basically an
classic hour.
Yeah. So yeah, the docuseries is called Tiger King. It's on Netflix. I don't really want to say much about the plot or anything because honestly, I've told you everything you need to know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's real crazy and it's super good. So yeah,
That's awesome.
Tiger King, Netflix.
Mine is a little bit, kind of Portland specific because it is during the coronavirus, which is, we have a schedule that we're backlogging these, so hopefully this will come out at a time past the coronavirus, but who knows, probably not. But yeah, because of everything in my life getting canceled, I have like very much needed some routine, and finding a way to kind of maintain routine when I don't have like even the ability to go to a coffee shop that I always go to like, hang out and talk to my neighbors. So, what I've been doing is I have been getting my comfort food, which is cold brew from Stumptown coffee. I love their cold brew. And then vegan donuts from Dough Donuts, which is all vegan. These are both Portland specific. But being able to like wake up and being like, I'm going to have the cold brew I really like and a donut has really helped me to kind of treat myself when I'm in a very kind of like isolated and feeling stressed out and also feeling very adrift. It is really nice to have something that I'm still can have because it's not canceled like everything else, and it's just something that's routine.
Do you freeze your donuts to make them last longer, or do you just eat them?
I refrigerate them.
You refrigerate? Okay.
Yeah, I guess I probably could freeze them.
Well, so I ask because I actually have a friend who worked on an apple orchard last summer, and they make all kinds of things with their apples, and one of the things they make is apple fritters.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I will send you some. I put them in the freezer and I'm sending you them in the mail. So hopefully they get there soon. But I'm like, I guess you could freeze a donut, couldn't you?
That is true. Yeah, because I always refrigerate them, which I think probably makes them last longer than if you don't. But
Oh yeah, no, don't, because if you leave them out, they'll get rock hard after a couple of days.
Right. I always refrigerate. Yeah, that I always do. But yeah, it is something that I've been experimenting because like you have to get like things delivered, and it's too far for me to actually go there anyway. But because of that, I'm like I want to get a decent amount at one time so I can like just pay the delivery fee and all that stuff like once. But then I'm like I don't want to get so much that by like in a while I'm still eating ones that are now pretty old, so it is that balancing act. So I mean I guess I have time to perfect the balancing act because this is the new normal, I guess. Not to end on that sad note.
That's okay. That sounds wonderful. You can binge.
Nice.
You can binge Tiger King and drink coffee and eat donuts.
Yeah, I don't need a life.
You've got an evening right there.
Yeah, perfect.
Or an afternoon, or a morning, or
yeah, whatever. What
a
is
day.
time? What is
What
anything?
is time? Oh my God, I know. I woke up this morning and I was like, "Is it Tuesday? Is it Monday?" It's
and then you're
Wednesday.
like, "It's Wednesday." Yeah.
Fuck, it's Wednesday. Yeah.
Good. At least we still have a podcast.
That's true.
Our theme song was written and performed by the amazing Lucia Fasano. You can check her out at luciafasano.bandcamp.com. She has a lot of really great stuff. We did get social media. So you can follow us on Twitter at White Cane Pod or on Instagram at Citizen White Cane. You can send us an email to citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe and rate and review and all that stuff. Yeah, cool. Thank you. See you in a couple weeks.